Welcome to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other high-quality podcasts. And now, your host, Alex from Swamp Rat Fishing, and the co-hostess with the mostest, the Jabberhammer, Paul Roberts.
Hey-o!
What is up?
Whoa, you the guest. You ain't supposed to talk yet. Hambone, Chip, slow your roll. This is my podcast.
Hey.
Alex ain't here. It's my podcast.
All right. Listen, this podcast just got a lot taller. Is all I'm saying.
I don't know. We've had some tallins on here now. We've had Alex Rudd pretty tall, and then we've had old Blaine down fishing Queen City. He's pretty tall. We'll figure out how tall you are. But first, let me get through with the intro before you take over. Damn. Look, y'all, welcome to Bass and Brews Podcast, your weekly distraction from quality podcast content. Alex is not here. If you haven't listened to the previous few episodes or any at all the last few months, he is off. He's on a boat somewhere towards the Alaskan coast on his last tour. He'll be back in I think we're at 58 or 60 days. Until then, you got me and what other degenerates that I bring onto this podcast, and we're going to have a good time. Now, you ain't going to get the same artwork and all that mess that you get on the social medias because I don't have time for that shit. But we're all going to have some good times still. Thank y'all for being here tonight. We got a good guest, Hambone Fishing. I can't remember his real name, but it don't matter. He's going to be Hambone anyway, and we'll go from there. Hambone, what's up, brother? How you doing today?
What up? It's Graham, just like the cracker. You won't forget it now.
How do you pronounce your last name? Is it Rhea or Ray?
Yeah, Rhea. That's actually, have you heard it before? Because no one ever gets it right.
No, but I regardless of how I sound and how country I sound, I'm very good at pronouncing words and names for some reason. It's a gift I have. And unfortunately, that gift has nothing to do with school or education. So a lot of good it did be with getting good grades.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. It can only be pronounced one of two ways.
Yeah.
Rhea?
Well, I don't know. You'd be surprised. I've gotten Rhea, I've gotten Ray, I've gotten Rie, I've gotten diarrhea, pizzeria, gonorrhea.
Well, those are all valid. My wife's last name was Gassemian, and you'd have to see how it was spelled. But when she was growing up, she always got called Sarah Gassman.
I hear you. So, quick little funny story is there was actually a girl in my high school whose last name was Gagne, and so they were like, well, we need to send in this to the Late Show or whatever it was at the time that was popular, and they're like, it's the Gagne Rhea wedding or something like that. So there's been lots of creative ways to deal with my last name. Gotta have a tough skin, a thick skin when you have a last name like mine, for sure.
Oh yeah. And you said that you coming on the podcast just got a lot taller. That's not hard to do since Alex is 4'2".
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's not bringing the average down.
But how tall are you? Are you
about
really
6
tall?
foot.
Oh shit, you ain't tall. I mean, you're almost two Alexes, but you ain't that tall.
Yeah, but I mean, 2 Alexes isn't bad. That's respectable.
I guess so. I mean, it takes 4 Alexes to equal me in weight.
Hey, I'm probably right there behind you, to be honest.
Well, I'll tell you this: it doesn't look like it. So Hambone has a YouTube channel, Hambone Fishing, and I'm sure we'll talk about that tonight. But he looks taller in his videos because his asshole wears yoga pants when he fishes and videotapes himself and puts it out there for people to just see.
Yeah, I don't want to be sunburnt. I'm not a guy who sits there and thinks he's tougher than the sun.
Oh, they got sunscreen for that shit.
Yeah, who's got time to put that back on when I'm picking out backlashes all day?
I do. I put sunscreen. Look, the worst is when I have to reapply in the kayak.
That's what I'm saying.
And I spray it on my legs, and then I go to stand up, and it looks like I'm in a skating rink on a kayak. You know, that sometimes can be a little tricky. But I have learned to put the towel down and then spray it. That way I don't get the pedals and the floor of my kayak all messed up.
Well, yeah.
But the yoga pants, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, I'm pretty sure we have. The yoga pants is a funny thing. The Queen City Kayak Bass Fishing, they're out of the Charlotte, North Carolina area, even though they do fish in South Carolina, a little bit of Georgia, and obviously North Carolina. But that's the thing that y'all do, man. You show up to a kayak tournament and there's a bunch of Queen City guys there. They rolling around in their yoga pants, man. You can pick them out above anybody and everybody else.
Look, man, don't knock it till you tried it. It's comfortable. You don't have to worry about reapplying any sunscreen. I've never been sunburnt on my legs. Like, I've never had any to deal with any of that. Like, it's not like hot. It's, it's fine.
How long have you been fishing with Queen City?
Oh, geez. Probably, honestly, I think since at least 2013.
Oh, holy shit. You've been doing it a long time now.
If he's been, no. Yeah, I think so. We're in year 8, I believe. I don't know. They all start to kind of run together. But,
But a long time. A long time.
Long time. I think the first event I ever did, I was in a paddle kayak that was not comfortable at all. And I remember times we were excited about like 50 to 60 people. Now, if we had 50 to 60 people in an event, we'd be like, what happened?
Look, y'all can have the most inclement weather there is, and there's still 100 people.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
My question leading up to asking that question was, who was the first person, since you've been in since the inception, it sounds like, who was the first person that showed up to a damn Queen City event, to the awards, in some yoga pants, and then 99% of the other guys were like, that's a good ass deal? Do you remember who started that trend for y'all?
Vinny. That was Vinny.
Leave it to the damn New Yorker.
Listen,
start the yoga pants down here in the
I'm glad he did. Because I was, those first couple events, I was just miserable after those events. Like, just sitting on my kayak and just being roasting, and then getting off the water and just feeling like couldn't move because everything hurt. Sunburnt. But yeah, he was the first one. I was probably one of the early adopters of it, and now you've got a lot of other guys that'll wear the leggings. So there's trust me.
Do y'all get the Lululemon discount for
that's a good idea, actually. Vinny's always looking for sponsors.
Out to Lululemon. He needs to, because y'all that would be, because I mean, look,
that would be the best.
Wear them. So you have at least kayak fishing since 2013, 2014. What's your fishing story before that? Did you fish before that, and were you in a boat? Did you just hop into the kayak after that? Like, what's the story with your fishing?
So, I mean, I've fished all my life. I grew up in Michigan, and up in Michigan, I was a bobber lobber. My dad and I'd go fishing. We just put a minnow or some worms under a hook and hope for the best. We did a lot of fishing from shore. We had I think an aluminum boat at one point, like 16-foot aluminum boat that we'd, try to get out on. And we do a lot of in Michigan, there's a bazillion lakes, but a lot of them, you got to kind of know somebody to get on, any of the good ones anyway. So we would do a lot of that, and then I played a lot of sports. So kind of our summers were limited, and I do some ice fishing and stuff too, but nothing ever super crazy. But then, Michigan obviously is great for camping and just being outdoors. And I got into a kayak one time when we were just doing a river float. My parents were in a canoe. I was in a kayak, and we were just going down the river. And that was it. I was like, this kayak is the best. I wish I had a fishing a fishing rod with me so that I could fish while we're doing this. And after that, we went out and got kayaks, and they were the most uncomfortable things you could possibly imagine. My feet couldn't even, it was a sit in, and my feet couldn't even straighten up in them. So my feet were like this forcibly all day. And I'd be miserable when I got off the water.
Probably
I would still be out there.
Just the contour of the plastic underneath your ass.
It was flat bottom. Like I think it was maybe 12 foot long, just awful. And then we upgraded to another set of paddle kayaks. And then I started fishing with Queen City, and obviously there's a lot of years that went on between there. So I've been fishing out of a kayak for a long time.
What year did you start fishing out of that kayak? Do you remember?
Ooh, probably in 2005, 2006, because that's super
early for kayak realm. I mean, even when you were talking about starting in Queen City in 2013, that was just the beginning of like the kayak you started to see a lot, because I found kayak fishing in, I think, 2014 or 2015, somewhere around in that end of 2014, early 2015 is when I started seeing a lot of kayak fishing on the internet. So you were kind of an early adopter of the kayak fishing world.
Yeah, I remember between my freshman and sophomore year of college, so this was like 2006-ish. I came home between the year for the summer, and my buddy and I would take those two kayaks and we'd load them up in the back of my truck, and we'd head to this pond that my dad's buddy lived on. And this place was great. It was loaded with like pound to 2 pound bass, and we would set up an ultralight rod with a banjo minnow and be out there for hours just catching fish after fish after fish after fish. And that was a big part of kayak fishing for me. And then, once I graduated college and I moved down to Charlotte, I didn't fish for a couple years because I was 25 and I was partying a lot and doing a lot of drinking. And, regardless of what anybody says, I mean, maybe I'm just a wuss, but I couldn't stay up till 2, 3 in the morning and then get up at 5, just hammered still and hit the lake. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of that. But then, I met who would become my wife and just kind of settled down. Our weekends kind of got a little slower, and I started fishing a lot more, every weekend, and I'd be going out, and then the tournament started. I actually met Vinny out on the water on Mountain Island Lake, as it were, just before one of his tournaments. And he talked me into fishing one of the events, and I caught a limit in my first event ever. And, one of the old, the guy that doesn't fish a lot of tournaments anymore, Saturday Mel.
I don't know him, but I know of him through social medias.
He was the man. He was the man, still is. But I just remember like looking at guys like Saturday and Vinny and John Ladd and some of those other guys that were just hammering them, at those events. And I'd come back with because we did have a 4 fish limit. So I'd come back with 55 inches thinking, oh man, maybe I got a shot or something. Yeah. Okay. and they're posting at that time they were posting 65 inches, which was oh, wow, holy cow, 65. That's crazy. Now you look at you're not 76, 77 inches in Queen City. You're just not you're probably not even going to be top 10, so I've been around a while. I've been here and there. A couple seasons I've missed a little bit, some events and stuff, but I fished, I think 3 or 4 Tournament of Champions with Queen City. And those are always fun, man. It's just a completely different mindset. There's no points, nothing. You're just going out to fish.
Fish to win.
Catch big fish, that's it, which, should be your mentality every time. But, sometimes you get carried away with the points and all that kind of stuff. So,
and you have a YouTube channel, Hambone Fishing. When did you start that?
About 3 years ago ish.
Why in the hell did you been kayak fishing this long? I'm sure you saw the damn YouTube kayak stuff back in 2013, 14, 15, all that, and you decided you started too late, man.
I didn't, man. I did not get into like watching anything on YouTube for years. I think just like everybody else, and I'm probably going to catch some shit for this, but the channels that got me into like the whole YouTube game and everything was the Guggen Squad back before they were the Guggen Squad.
Yeah.
Fish in the Midwest. Perrick. God, that guy was such a disaster when he first kind of started and stuff, but like for sure, and then I found Blanchard and all the big names, and I was just like, that looks fun, and so I just kind of started messing with it, and I just kind of kept it rolling. There really honestly wasn't a whole lot of rhyme or reason behind why I started and what I really hoped to accomplish with it. But I like to see, for me, I kind of use it as a little bit of a journal, like a fishing journal. And like, I like to look back at some of the old videos, like what was I doing this time last year? And, if I caught them, then I'll try to find that same situation. If I didn't, then I'll look for something new. But obviously every year is kind of different. So, that's kind of why I got into the whole YouTube thing. Obviously, my mom always watches my videos and she comments and everything too. So like she's my biggest fan. So like, she likes to watch them, and it helps you stay connected with people too. You develop friends in the that make content, that put content out, and they might be states away, or you don't see them very often, but you get to follow their fishing and that kind of stuff. So it's fun in that regard. And I always look at it too as kind of like something that helps me stay grounded, because the thing that I hate the most, and some things that I've been guilty of 100%, is thinking that my day was way better than it was and exaggerating. And I can go back and just kind of humble myself, like, dude, you only caught like 4 fish. Your day wasn't that good. Like
I got a limit.
And the fish that you caught weren't that big. Okay. So let's just chill, So that was a big part of it too. I wanted to have something that I could just kind of look back on and just kind of, relive some of those days, and some of those struggles. And, when you lose that big fish at the boat in a tournament on Lake Hartwell that would have put you in the money, you can look back at it and be frustrated and see what you did wrong.
Well, this podcast was and is still built off of content creators.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of people we have on here, 99+%, create some kind of content via YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, podcast, whatever it is. They're creating content, and we have folks on that have tens of thousands of YouTube subscribers, and people that have less than 1,000, and everywhere in between, and all that. And so we look at the content. That's how we find people and reach out to people and invite them on. And so we see a lot of it. What I like about your channel is, and I found it because of kayak fishing. When I started kayak fishing in January of 21, December 20, that's what I started looking for was kayak fishing local to me. And I'm in the Raleigh area. This is about 2.5 hours away from where you are in that Charlotte area. I looked for local, right? I was looking for folks that were fishing the local waters, so I could, one, see who was out there and see what they're doing, all that stuff, trying to learn the lakes. And yours is one of them that I found. But when we look at the content, you have some of these people that have the long form content creation, and YouTube specifically, right? We'll talk about YouTube. Mm-hmm. They have that long form. They have those 20, 30, 40-minute videos. and I like those, but it takes a special person to be able to engage an audience for that long. You either got to be catching a lot of fish. Well, not even that. You can catch big fish and a lot of fish, but to put all that together into something that's going to keep somebody looking at for 30 minutes. And Greg Blanchard is probably one of the best ones out there for that. He can go catch 2 fish and create a 25-minute video, and I'll watch every second of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
He's very good at it. Yep. Your videos are on the shorter end, right? I think yours are like 10 to 15 minutes typically.
Yeah, if I have a good day, I try to get most, most if not all fish catches in the video. Whether it's a tiny little dink or I occasionally catch a fish over 2 pounds, I try to get that in there and just kind of show like, I wanted to show, kind of like Josh with abide fishing is like, it's not all rainbows and sunshine when you're out on the water. Like there is so much that goes wrong.
That Josh from abide fishing has a fucking thunderstorm cloud that follows him around. It's gotten better. He's got some clear skies here more recently, but he has some of the funniest shit happening.
Oh my God. It's hilarious.
I mean, it is awesome. But yeah, and see, that's the thing about yours though, is they're shorter videos, but it's straight to the point, right? And that's what I like. There are some channels that I don't watch as much anymore because they do have the longer things, and it's just, if people are talking to the camera and they're talking about what they're doing and, they're telling a story, that's one thing. But just watching, a 20-minute video with 15 minutes of silence with some catches and stuff, it's hard to stay engaged. But what I like about yours is they're shorter, but there's that engagement. There's that consistent engagement throughout the video. And it's good. I mean, you talk about what you're doing. You show the fish you're catching. Typically, they're tournament videos that I'm watching. So you're talking about the body of water you're on, what you're doing. And I think that's what keeps the people engaged. There's a storyline there, and you stick to that storyline of what it is. But that's also to show people that are thinking about or just starting the YouTube journey is that you don't have to have these super great productions that are 30 minutes long, but you can tell a really good story in 10 to 15 minutes. And we talked about this with Ryan when he was on, about his are like 12 minutes long. That's his goal, 12 minutes. And it's the same thing, it's really good content from the aspect that's straight to the point. There's not a lot of downtime. There's not a lot of just, casting and nothing happening and you not talking. And your content's really good. And it's a good way for folks that are looking to get into this. Is in, the videos that I post once every 3 months. That's what I've tried to entail, is something that's short, shows the fishes, add in what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And, when shit goes wrong, I always want that in there.
Yeah. And it's best to, I've actually experimented with doing some and I actually, I got the idea from Greg Blanchard, is he would do some of these videos. And in his case, he was trying to catch up on editing in his uploads, but he would do 30 minutes of unedited fishing videos of fishing time. And I always thought those were pretty interesting because you get, obviously it's a longer form of video and you're looking at some certain things, but you get to see all right, man, he's making a cast, but he didn't catch a single fish, let's say, but you kind of get the process of what that person goes through in that 30 minutes of time. Because in fishing, you can fish, several different areas, like a dock, a riprap bank, a laydown, and anything else in that 30 minutes. And it just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what that person's doing. And, so if anybody's looking to get into it, man, obviously the best thing is to start yesterday. Just start. You're going to suck at first. It's going to be bad. It's going to be awkward. It's talking to the camera is tough. Ask anybody. They sit there and they're like, and you look at even some of the YouTubers that are really big. I've been watching a lot of saltwater YouTube recently because I've just got this itch that I need to scratch with saltwater fishing.
Hey, get you some baby wipes. That'll help.
I know, right? And some of the bigger guys are like when they're talking to the camera. So it's, if you're getting into it, and I would encourage everyone to do it, just because even if nobody watches it, it's fun to just go back and watch your own videos to just see how you did keep track of your days, use it as a journal.
Tim,
It
you
is
just
just
said,
to see. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Can't even take your own advice.
I know.
And Josh, we'll harp on him because both of us know him, and he's been on the podcast previously. He's a great example of that, in that he didn't have a lot of experience in the kayak, and his fishing was limited when he first started, and he didn't have a lot of views. But now he's grown a really good channel. But he puts it out, and he puts it out once a week. He's consistent when he puts his content out. He's grown his channel. And you're right. Nobody's going to watch that shit except for friends and family when you first start. And they're not even going to watch it all. They're just going to go over there. They're going to watch a few seconds of it, hit the like button, maybe comment, and then get off. Yeah. But that's what starts to generate it. It comes down to podcasting. When Alex started this, and when I came on, I came on as a guest co-host on episode 12. So we were pretty much brand new. The listens grew as we stayed consistent with the content we put out. We started to realize who our crowd was that wanted to listen to the debauchery that we talk about. And that's, but we continued to put out the content. That was the biggest thing. We were consistent with it. So anything that you're doing on social media, from TikTok to Instagram to YouTube to podcasting, just like you just said, just do it. Put it out there. Don't worry about what it's like. You'll improve. And maybe you don't need to improve. Maybe the rawness and you fucking up and being an idiot is what you need to be.
I mean, those are some of the best videos. I mean, like some of the best videos that Josh has are just the most ridiculous things happen. Like,
stolen and held for ransom.
Oh man, it's so good. But
that's the other thing too, is so many people try to make it perfect. And by perfect, not the editing, not the video, but the fishing aspect of it. They take out when they get, when they set the hook and the damn lure flies back behind you, and you got 8 poles sticking up behind you, and it wraps around 6 of them, and that kind of shit like that. I try to put that into mine because that's the shit that happens. Stuff happens on a stupid asshole plastic kayak that never happens in any other fishing. I mean, I had a tournament this past weekend. I caught the biggest white perch I've caught all year. That thing was like 13 or 14 inches. And I was on a drop shot. I get it up, and it has the drop shot somehow. I couldn't have tied the knot any better. And y'all may or may not see it. It's recorded. And, I cuss a lot, and I'm throwing shit in the boat and all this and that. But that's the kind of stuff that I like to put in there, because people try to make it too perfect from the sense of that fishing day. But in reality, we don't see enough of the real world shit that's going on in that little boat, or any boat, a big boat. The tangles, the hang-ups, the lure flying back at your face and shit like that. I think those are the things that get people drawn in, and they can relate to it. It's relatable.
But that's the biggest thing, is it's relatable. I mean, who goes out and has a perfect day of fishing? If you have a perfect day of fishing, you're not fishing hard enough. You're not. If I don't have 2 rods just sitting down on the floor of my kayak and just waiting to be tangled up in a fish that runs straight at the kayak into those lines, then it's not a day of fishing. I mean, I had a tournament on Lake Norman. I was fishing. I had a drop shot rod set up, and of course the weight and everything else was hanging off the front of the boat. And I had made a cast, and the wind was whipping a bit that day, and I skipped a stick bait under a dock, and I was just kind of letting it soak. And all of a sudden, I started reeling it in, and the fish must have just grabbed it and just sat there, because it didn't do anything. And I started reeling. I realized I had a fish on. And by that time, I was like 3 feet past the kayak. So I'm fighting this fish around a piling. And I finally get the fish out. And then he runs straight at the boat and straight into the drop shot line. I mean, the tangle on it was, I mean, I just had to cut it out when I got done. But I landed the fish, and like that's the kind of stuff that you just kind of hope to have. And especially when it happens during a tournament, you're just that much more excited that you landed the fish. But like that's the stuff that happens when you're out fishing and you're out doing it. And these, one rod sitting out on the deck, and you're just catching fish and this, that, and the other. Like it's cool to see people catch fish, but I also want to see people like, skip a jig under a dock and pick out a backlash for 5 minutes and then realize that there's a fish on there and then and then land it. Like that's the kind of stuff that really interests me. And like, that's the kind of stuff I'm absolutely 100% including. I try to always include myself picking out a backlash in like every one of my videos because it happens constantly, especially when I'm skipping a jig.
I have talked to people about this picking out backlash shit because I think it was on the last episode. Hell, I can't damn remember. I think it was, but we were talking about it. Oh no, it was an episode with Armando and Bass Kayak and Beards that hadn't come out yet. But I've talked about on this before. I throw with I throw Shimano, so all the braking system is as loose as I can get it for the most part. There are a couple that don't, but anyway. So I tend to have I thumb it. So I tend to get some backlashes and stuff like that. Man, if you get a bad backlash, the first thing you gotta do is crank your drag down as tight as you can do it. Reel it in 3 or 4 times with your thumb on the line, pressing where it's hard to reel in, and then start peeling it out. When you hit that next knot, put your thumb on the line, pressure it, reel it in. I can't tell you how many birds nest that since I learned that technique, that how much time has saved me.
Oh yeah.
How many times that instead of just reeling it in and saying fuck it and throwing that reel in the back and forgetting it's there, that hasn't happened. And then what do you have to do? You have to go home and you got to take $30 worth of fluorocarbon you just put on there, and you're cutting it out. I haven't had to do that. Now, sometimes that should be bad enough that 2 or 3 casts later, I sling that crankbait out there and I see the crankbait still going. I'm like, and my reel's not spinning because, it got a little kink in the line. And
I did that with a jackhammer, early spring. And I was catching fish on it. And, I was fishing this long, like break wall, and it was perfect spot for it. It was, just a shad colored jackhammer, and it's like, sweet. I just gave it my all in this cast, and there it goes. And I just watched it fly. I'm like, that's all you can do. I've done it with A-rigs. Oh, I can't tell you how many A-rigs I've lost, like not using heavy enough braid, and the braid gets a little frayed, and then, you got this big long butt of a rod, and just putting everything into it, and it just like Lake Wiley has probably close to $150, $200 worth of A-rigs from me, and I'm throwing like Shane's Baits A-rigs. So, you get the A-rig, which is like $20, $25. Then you have all the jig heads, then you have all the Kytex. And so you're like $30 to $45 in at this point, and it's just gone. There's nothing you can do about it. And then the next fish you catch is a giant catfish that just man,
dude.
Every time.
I just started drop shotting this year, and I should have started it last year because 2 of the guys that boat fish, and I hop on their boats every now and again, they would just wear them out. Last fall, they were wearing them out, and I didn't get into it. I didn't want to tie the damn leader, right? I just didn't want to fool with that shit because primarily my lakes here are pretty dirty, so I don't like. There's no, it's just straight braid,
right?
So I started trying to fish a drop shot with straight braid. Well, that shit don't work because the hook sags and
Yeah.
the braid gets tangled in there too much, right? It's never right. So I've learned how to tie it, blah blah blah, this and that. I'm getting to a point where here with fuck catfish. So I started fishing it. My God, that is the best catfish lure I have ever thrown in my damn entire life. I caught an 8-pounder one day, and I learned two things. One, I had a good hook, and two, the knot that I'm tying, I don't know what the fuck the name of the knot is. I tie a fisherman's knot and I tie another fisherman's knot. I pull it tight and it goes. But it took me 9 or 10 minutes to get this 8-pound catfish in. It's
Oh yeah.
I got a light rod. It's a shit show, dragging me all around in my damn my kayak. But I have caught the biggest catfish I've caught here. And ever since I moved from South Carolina, I was fishing Santee. I've come on the drop shot here. I mean, but yeah, they fuck it all up. I usually have to retie it because they always, way that hook goes and the way they roll and shit, they always fray up your above the hook on the leader. God, they're a pain in the ass.
That was me on the Hobie when we had the Hobie on Lake Norman, when it was in conjunction with the Queen City event on Norman. I was fishing day 2, and I think I caught everything but bass that day. I had a couple hybrids on that I thought, were just like, hell yeah, I'm on them now. And I caught a couple of those, and then I caught probably about an 8 to 10 pound catfish on a drop shot, just a little 4-inch robo worm. I think it was early March. I was just fishing around docks with a drop shot, just flipped it up into a dock, and then boom, and then I set the hook, and then it just zzz, and I'm sitting here like probably 10 minutes. I'm like, I'm wasting so much time fighting this fish right now.
Yeah,
And
that's the problem.
because you're using a spinning rod. You don't, you have like very little leverage, and it's just pulling you all around, and it's a mess. But yeah, you're right. Catfish love that drop shot, and
what I learned is typically when I catch a catfish, I can tell pretty early when it's a catfish. Well, when I started using this drop shot, and I've probably caught 8 fish between 4 and 6 pounds bass on it in the last 3 or 4 months. And when you're fishing in like 15 foot of water or so, those bass, like I'd hook it. Matter of fact, last Friday I hooked one. It was 4 pounds, and I hook it, and I'm like, damn, this feels like a catfish. And because they do a lot, just a lighter rod and stuff, they do a lot more digging. It felt like catfish, and get it to the side of the boat. I'm like, holy shit, where's my net? That ain't no damn catfish.
Yeah.
But that's the other problem about catching those stupid ass catfish on that thing. When it's big and we don't have the visibility of my lakes here on a good day, 16 inches. Usually it's 12 inches or less. So you don't know until that thing gets to the boat what you have. And I still haven't fished it enough to tell those little nuances. So now, every time I say it's a catfish, hoping it's a bass, but I fight it every time like it's because I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I damn sure don't want to lose it and it be a bass,
Yeah.
But, that's another thing about fishing out the damn kayak, man. It's hard to control that fish on light gear.
For sure.
Yeah. It's hard to do that. But yeah, y'all catch some massive fish over there in the Wiley, especially in Norman. All y'all's videos y'all post when y'all catch catfish out of Norman, y'all catch some damn big ass catfish bass.
Yeah, there's some big ones swimming around over here. I'd like to replace some of those big catfish with some bigger spotted bass, but Wiley's been kind of on a downswing. I haven't fished Wiley much lately.
I've heard it's kind of pretty much fucking suck for bass fishing.
Well, I think it's kind of where, and I'm no biologist and I might be talking out of my ass here, but I think it's kind of in that situation where Norman was about 5 to 10 years ago, where it's just kind of the spotted bass are really starting to take over. And it's kind of because you used to be able to go out on Wiley and catch mainly largemouth. And now that we've got all these spotted bass coming in down from Wiley or from Norman and from Mountain Island, it's just, maybe I just suck at fishing, which is probably the most likely, but the Wiley is just it's not producing for me as well as, a Norman is right now. I mean, I got a buddy that caught an absolute monster of a spotted bass, probably close to a 6-pound spot out of Norman. I can't remember. It was like over the winter. It was in some of the colder months down here, but I mean,
that's a big ass damn spot.
Oh man,
I bet
that
he
is
thought he
a
had.
giant.
I bet he thought he had jaws on the end of his
Oh
arm.
man, yeah, for sure. And that's what's fun about Norman is it really ramps up in the winter. I mean, those spotted bass get real angry, and we're starting to get into that time where Norman really starts to get more fun than what it is now.
Yeah, and all lakes go through cycles of fish. You have a couple bad years of hatches and stuff like that, and obviously I think the Wiley and Norman. What the hell is that? Is that the Catawba River chain?
Oh, it's 100% the Catawba chain.
Okay,
the Catawba chain.
Yeah, and so they're getting inundated with the spotted bass, and so what you're seeing is that transition of them getting established in the largemouth, getting pushed out or whatever happens. But you add that in. So my home lake is Sharon Harris, and 6 years ago, Sharon Harris was one of the top 5 lakes in the country. I mean, people were catching 40-pound bags.
No, I remember the buzz around that. Like, what was it, like a 47?
Yeah.
So that TOC was interesting.
They had, but there was grass here at the time. They killed the grass, and these fish are having to completely change, how they did. But just in general, lakes go through cycles. We see it all the time with major lakes. They go through those cycles where you have just fucking monster fish, and then nothing, and then it comes back. So it's these places that manage their lakes really good are the ones that the cycles are shorter when the fishing is bad and that cycle is shorter.
Well, and that's, and there's a lot of other stuff that goes along with the lakes around here. Like, obviously Sharon Harris doesn't have any residential area around the lake. There's no people living on the lake, which is basically all of Lake Norman, all of Lake Wiley, all of Mountain Island. Like, if
you like fishing, go there.
Oh, docks for days. You could probably fish a different dock for like a week, 2 weeks straight, and just not fish the same dock ever, and not run out of docks for a week or two.
And our two lakes here, Jordan, Sharon, Harrison Falls, have no residential.
That's what kind of scares me, because like docks are my comfort zone. So like I'm sitting here looking at this event on Jordan and Falls, and I'm like, shit, what am I gonna do?
Well, we got a ton of laydowns, and a laydown is a dock. I mean, it's the same thing. Of course, they're it's you can relate the structure or the cover for both, but that's the same thing. When you come up here, depending on what lake you fish, you can target laydowns. But the problem in a kayak with that is you can't run 10, 15 miles to hit a bunch of laydowns, so you got to pick a place that has a bunch.
And that's where I'm gonna probably struggle. But and just to get back to that, like Norman and Wiley and stuff, like everybody's, like you said, they killed the grass in Sharon Harris, and that's a big part of why some of that fishing isn't as great as it was. And that's the same thing they're doing on Wiley and Norman. And no homeowner wants to have their lakefront property choked out with grass. As much as all the anglers want to have big grass mats and lily pads and all this other fun stuff to fish, these guys that have all this money, they're like, I don't want this stuff in my yard. I don't want the bugs that go along with it. I don't want any of that. And I want to be able to walk out on my sandy little beach and put my feet on that hard clay and just relax on the lake. So you're kind of stuck with docks. Like that's really, I mean, there's a couple spots, like if you get up on the northern part of Lake Norman and, you know, into the river and stuff, you can find some good natural areas. But I mean, the vast majority of that lake is docks. That's going to be your main focus in most cases, unless you're good at fishing offshore, which I'm not. So it's docks for me.
Yeah, that's what happened with Harris is the fish are still there, but the fish, when you have all that grass, the fish tend to be shallower, which means they're typically easier to fish for.
Right.
You have a weed line to follow, so you have something as humans, we have something visual to follow and visual to throw at, and then when you take the grass out, those fish, they're always structure oriented. But now these fish, the structure, they want to feel safe, so they're going to be deeper because they don't have, you know, the shade from the grass and all that, all the protection that the grass has. Those fish are now going to be deeper, and now you have to go, instead of catching them at 8 foot of water on a grass line, you got to go to 15 foot of water or 20 foot of water to fish for them. They're still there, but they spread out more, and they're harder to find, and they're harder to fish for because we don't have that visual line to throw out, say, and that's it. So here's a funny story. We've got a guy out here on Shared Harris. I would put $1,000 on him against anybody on that lake, boat, kayak, it don't damn matter. So he's fishing a monthly, I think it was the June monthly for our local club. He has 102 inches, he has 102 or 102 and a half, something, 102 inches. And at 2 o'clock, TD calls his site or texts him and says, "Hey man, I got to DQ all your fish." He's like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah. I don't know if you're dyslexic, but you might want to get checked out because you wrote your identifier backwards." And so he switched up the last 2 letters of the identifier.
Oh no!
At 2 o'clock, by 4 or 5 o'clock the same day,
he had
101 inches.
Oh man!
We had a tournament out there in July. Second place had 83. I came in third with 81. He had 101 and a quarter.
God.
So I mean, you know, the fish are out there, and there's some other people that fish out of boats down here that post pictures of big fish, but you know, the fish are still there. You just have to really dial them in and fish for them like that. But he's something else, man. I mean, you're talking about catching over 200 inches of fish in a day. I mean, that's insane. That's crazy as hell. That's crazy as hell for sure. So do you do strictly kayak fishing? Do you ever hop in a boat with anybody? Do you do any other kinds of fishing?
Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed to be on the back of Chris Goodwin's boat a couple times. We fished a couple times. David Golding will, he'll call every now and then, and we'll go out and fish. But, vast majority of the time, it's me just by myself in a kayak. It's just, it's comfortable. My parents have a Carolina skiff that I keep over here, and it's not really set up for fishing. But I just feel it's foreign. It's just really foreign to me. I don't have everything that I'm comfortable with right, in my circle here. It's just different. Like as nice it would be to just, put the hammer down and head on off to another point or whatever it is that you're fishing. It's just not as comfortable. So I tend to do a lot of my fishing out of a kayak.
Except in the middle of August when it's 101 degrees outside with 60% humidity, you're like, "Fuck this, I'm going to get the skiff."
Dude, it's brutal, man. We just had the Queen City or the Emerald School of Excellence charity event, which is always a lot of fun. Man, if you ever get a chance to fish that one and come over in August, dude, it's every August. And we've had a couple different formats. One of the ones that I thought was the best was kiddie rods. You'd go buy your Spider-Man, your My Little Pony or your Spider-Man or whatever little kid's fishing rod, put 20 to 40 pound braid on it, and then you'd go out fishing. And I've got a couple of videos of those, of some of those days, and man, those were the best. Like you'd have you'd have these guys out here in like $5,000 kayaks, like Hobie PAs, native
And a fucking
Titans
Mickey Mouse pole.
with a Mickey Mouse rod fishing, and you're throwing like a whopper plopper, and you're just like, and then you get a bite, and you're like, the rod's like completely bent. Oh, dude, it's so much fun. And you're trying to skip like a jig or like a stick bait or something under a dock, and you're just like, the rod's this long. You're just like, what is going on? But man,
look, what the
those
fuck's
were
wrong
fun.
with y'all? We already get picked on enough by the boat guys talking about look at little swan boats out here and this and that shit. And then y'all got a tournament with 120 people out there fishing with damn Batman and Spider-Man rods, and a bass boat comes by and goes, What the fuck is this guy doing?
Fuck it, man. Like, I'm out here to have fun, dude. This is for charity. This is like, if you guys don't, if the listeners don't know what the Emerald School of Excellence is either, like all the money for this event goes to charity. Like it's all raffle based. Like, you get more raffle tickets, the better you finish. And the Emerald School of Excellence is like a recovery high school. So people who are struggling with like addiction and mental health issues get a second chance, basically, to get like a GED and like get their life back on the right track. So that's why I think that event is so much fun for everyone. It's no pressure. Everybody's doing crazy stuff. And we had the Kitty Rod event, and then this year, the last 2 or 3 years, it's been with Biz Baits and True South.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really cool way to like completely even the playing field. Everybody pays $75 and they're handed a bag of baits, $75 worth of Biz Baits and True South tackle. And that's the only thing that you can use for the entire event. So you get a V-twin buzz bait, you get some sassy sticks, you get a couple jigs, some Ned rig stuff, and some shaky heads, and a spinner bait. So you're covering top water, you're covering a moving bait, and then obviously your bottom baits. And you go out and catch them. If you lose your jig that you were catching them on, good luck. Pick something else. So you use all your own rods and reels and line and everything. But
how
like,
about
you can't.
terminal tackle? Do you bring your own terminal tackle?
Nope. You get some shaky heads. You get some Ned rigs. You get 2 worm hooks were provided by Six Gill Fishing.
But
And
I
then,
lose so much shit when I go fishing. I would probably end up being out there with that V-twin buzz bait. And that'd probably be the only fucking thing left in my tackle box at the end. I'd have paid I'd got $75 worth of lures, and all the hooks and terminal tackle would be gone.
Oh, dude, it's so much fun because like that's what the people that were fishing it for the first time, they're like, well, what if I lose stuff? Bring your fucking goggles, buddy. Bring your goggles and your snorkel and go down and get it.
Where'd you finish on? Because one y'all had was 2 weeks ago. Where'd you finish in that?
Oh, I sucked. I looked at like a pattern that I could have had and just kept right on going by it. I think I only had like 2 keepers, and then I caught some dinks, some shorts, but the wind picked up and overnight, and we had this. It's actually the new spinnerbait that Biz Baits hasn't even launched yet, or hasn't even like put out on the market yet. But there was a bunch of wind that came up, and I was fishing on this point that I wanted to start on with the V-twin buzzbait, because that's my favorite buzz. Like, anytime I'm throwing a buzzbait, it's the V-twin. Like, you see it in every video.
Everybody in Queen City uses that buzzbait.
Dude, it is. I mean, try it. I mean, I think one thing I really like about it is, obviously, when you have like a single blade buzzbait, a lot of times it's gonna list to the left or right, or whichever way that blade is spinning. This one you can get to go straight, just completely straight true, and it makes some crazy noises. And but I was fishing that, and that's what I wanted to fish. I wanted to fish that point, and I wanted to catch a bunch of fish on top, because that's what I was looking for. But I caught 2 fish on the different parts of the same point with a spinnerbait. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, sweet. And then I just kept on moving. And I'm like, what the fuck was I doing? And again, one reason why I like to film my days is I can go back and look at that and be like, how stupid are you? Like, you should have just backed off that point and just fished it for like 30 to 45 minutes and then looked for another point if you weren't getting bit, because the fish were out in that wind, you know. I got to
That's
say
a
congrats
classic
to
spinnerbait bite,
Josh.
man.
Yeah, I got to say congrats to Josh at Abide Fishing. He got his first top 10 in that
Yeah.
event, you know, and he was sitting on a point. I haven't watched his video yet, but I sat next to him at the weigh-in. I said he was caught them all on a point. I'm pretty sure I know what point he was on. But
Speaking of Josh, I tried to guilt him / trick him on the coming on, and he hasn't texted me back. So I'm going to text him real quick while you tell the
he
story.
ain't got shit to do. What is he doing?
I don't know. He's got a girlfriend
Yeah,
now. I mean, he's
well,
busy. He actually has stuff to
true.
do now.
That's true. That's true.
Golly.
I know. But no, I mean, and the event was great. You know, obviously it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to, but we call it the most coveted trophy or the most coveted piece of hardware in Queen City, because there's only one event you can get it, and it's just cool looking. Like, there's these gems, these like this year was, I guess we'll call it a ruby because it was red, but they're usually green. I've got two of them, and because I did really good in the kitty rod events for some reason. I was like third, and I think, well, I guess I got my last one last year, but they're just cool. I mean, how many other tournaments around here do you get like a gem with for?
Well, so if you're doing so good with the kitty rods, why don't you just
that's what
leave that
I'm
shit
saying.
at home and start
That's
taking
what
the
I'm
kitty
thinking,
rods out?
man. I think I
mean,
might.
damn.
I know.
Look how much money. Look, your wife would never be mad at you if you came home with a new combo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, you bought another rod and reel, honey. It's
$15.
Mickey Mouse.
$15.
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, but that's been an event I always look forward to every August, because it's just fun. The weigh-in's fun. You know, you go and you pick up your tackle the night before, the Friday before the event, and you get to BS with everybody, and you know, it's just a fun event. But we got Lake Murray coming up next, and God, I hate Lake Murray. I think I've caught 3 fish
good
there.
Luck. Blaine Upton's going to whoop all y'all's asses on Murray.
I know.
He's going to go out there and do something stupid and catch like 3 big fish and then have a 12-incher.
He's gonna be going back and forth with Jeremy Heath and Chad Walden. Yeah. Those two got some spots. I know when they did that no limit, when we did that no limit big bass like power hour event, you know, I'm pretty sure that they were on Murray. I think that's what they said anyway, and they got a spot there that they just crush them, and they're gonna be tough to beat. I know fortunately we had a cheater last year on Lake Murray, and
he called his shot,
man. And then Jeremy actually would have won the event, but
he ended up winning it.
Well, yeah, technically, but like obviously he didn't get his shine, you know, when everything was kind of going on. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not looking forward to that event. It's always been a rough lake for me, you know. What the area I went to last year, I was hoping for a topwater bite, and I was fishing like the river portion. I don't know what river it is. You have to forgive me because of whatever. And I was fishing that river event, or that river section, and I was hoping for a topwater bite. It just never materialized. But then, so I was just like, though the only other thing I got is docks, and so I just kept going from dock to dock. But for whatever reason, I feel like it's a personal vendetta against anglers, that these dock owners, they put like an extra 2x4 or whatever type of structure in the way of their dock to keep anglers from skipping a jig or a shaky head or whatever else it is under a dock in that area of Lake Murray. And so I'm sitting there, it's hot as shit. I think we fished it in early September again last year. It's like 9,000 degrees. I've caught 0 fish on the day, and just completely frustrated.
So it's a
And
great day to be on the water.
Couldn't skip anything under a dock because the water was up, and it was just, they just keep an extra board there, and I couldn't skip anything under it. So I just got out a drop shot and like got as close to the dock as I could and ended up catching 2 fish. But
If I lived on a lake and had a dock, to fuck with all the people that came fishing there, I would rig up a motion sensor all around the dock, the front 2 corners at least. And every time somebody came within that motion sensor, there would be some kind of like torpedo or some kind of motor underneath there. So when that motion sensor went off, it would just start, you know, like I don't fish docks because I don't have any.
You don't have any.
And I, you know, it ain't their water, so to hell with them. But just to have fun with the other anglers, I would do that shit to fuck with them. And then I have like a loudspeaker that came on about, motherfucker, get off my dock. You know, that's what I do.
There was one dock that I came up on, Lake Norman, and I pedaled up to it and I was skipping a jig under it, and all of a sudden a voice came out and it scared the shit out of me. It was like, you are being recorded. I'm like, well, motherfucker, so are you. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I got a recording mechanism on the back of my boat too.
So
you know, that's funny with all the docks that y'all fish though. Y'all don't ever post a lot of those dock interactions that go viral. I
try to stay
I guess
away.
It's because there's so many damn people fishing on them that most of the people around there probably don't even care.
Yeah. I tend to stay away from docks that have people on them, you know, just as a courtesy. Like, also, I don't want to like accidentally skip a jig and ping their pontoon and while they're there and they're sitting there staring at me. So I'll typically skip those docks, but
that's where all the fish are. That's why
I know, right? Exactly. But no, it's funny you say that because I've always thought like if I had a dock, I'd be like, I was talking to my buddy about it. I was like, man, I would definitely try to make the dock good for fishing, because I just think it would be cool to have like a record and just set up like an email account or something and say, if you catch a big fish off of my dock, send it to me, send me a picture, because I think that would be fun. But also I'm like, I want to put like a big like piece of carpet underneath, like in the water. So when people are like throwing their chatterbaits and this, that, and the other under these, they get hooked on that and they just cannot get it up. I'll just jump in.
No, all right. What you need to do is go get you some chicken wire and make some big cages.
Yeah.
And so when they get up in there, and that way you got the cages on a rope. And so, like once a week, you go pour the cages up, and you got chatterbaits, and you got jigs. I mean,
and all kinds of terminal tackle stuff.
Yeah, you got all kinds of good shit. You could, if you pull it up once a week, it ain't gonna be rusted.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what you got to do. Speaking of docks and Karens and Kens and all that shit, you are the meme master. Y'all, if you follow Bass and Brews or Alex, me a little bit on especially Tiki Tack, the memes that we put out, a majority of them come from Hambone. Alex, and so I just kind of got into loop with getting them from Hambone, but Alex would send me these damn memes, and it'd be 3 or 4 at least twice a week that Hambone had put out there, and they are just they're fucking hilarious. And I can't create a meme for nothing, and you spit out 4 or 5 or 6. Man, some of that shit is funny as hell. Like, what? Obviously you listen to the podcast, but how do you just have shit lined up? Like, how do you come up with some of the shit that you get on these memes?
What I like about this podcast specifically is it's very self-deprecating, and that's the type of humor that I like too. Like, I joke about all kinds of shit like that is I suck at, because it's funny. And so when you guys are talking about your weekly distraction from quality fishing content, like
podcast content,
podcast content. Excuse me. But that just kind of gets me going, and I'll, sometimes I'll get on a roll, and I've got, obviously like apps on my phone, and that's where I create most of the memes and stuff. And, I'll get on a roll, and then I'll take kind of like a premise, and, I'll have like an idea, and then I'll just kind of try to scroll through memes and just see like, all right, does this meme format fit with like what I'm trying to do? And, I'll just
And if
keep
it
going.
doesn't, no, but I'll make it.
Right. But then you just kind of get going, and you're like, I love this meme format. I'm really good at creating memes with this format. And I'll just try to think of something else from the podcast that will fit, and just the one that I liked a lot was the guy riding the bike, and then he puts his own the stick in his own wheels. It just like, self-sabotages himself into falling off of his bike, and then it's like,
But that one you sent last week. So a lot of people, if people follow a lot of social media, it's the meme where they have the three people on the podium, and there's the one guy biting the metal, and it's just talking stuff. And I might fuck it up. Tell me if I'm wrong. At the end, don't interrupt me now. That's my job. So it has the three people on the podium, and there's the one guy biting the metal, and he's shooting all this shit out, and it comes and it says, this and that, and it comes to the end, and that person's in third, and then there's a second place and a first place, and you had Alex Rudd in first. Second place was every other fishing podcast known to man or something, and then the third, the guy that's over there acting the fool and shit, was Bass and Brews. I sent that shit to Alex Rudd. He was like, he chuckled at that one. That shit right there made me laugh so hard. I posted that stuff. I think it was on my Instagram. I posted that one. That shit had me rolling. All of them had me rolling, but that one right there, I showed it to my wife, and she's like, I don't get it. Because my wife doesn't listen to this podcast because she doesn't even want to listen to me in person. There's no way in hell she is wasting a second of her time listening to my dumb ass on a podcast about fishing. But that shit was awesome, man. It's so funny.
And the one was like, and to pick on Alex Rudd a little bit. Obviously, he's been, a semi-regular on the podcast, and he's got a big following and everything. But he loves that Max scent. Like Berkeley, he is a Berkeley man.
Max scent my pants.
And and that was just kind of the thought that I had, is like, oh man, like, just thinking about like how, shit my pants, and then like, well, Max scented it. It's the Max scent, and I'm almost embarrassed to tell you how long I searched through meme formats to try and find one that would work for that. And I finally found the one that was, like the Spider-Man one. And I think it worked out pretty well. But that's just kind of how it goes. When I'm looking at,
the funny thing is you really do embrace the podcast, and my Alex, who we refer to as Shawty Alex because he's short. But Shawty Alex and me, you've created a bunch of these about how Alex is trying to run a professional podcast and how Alex is trying to keep everything online. And then, the other part of the meme is the jabberhammer over here fucking something up or some shit like that. And that really is how it goes. Like, I mean, I chastised his little short ass so much when he was taking notes that he tries to hide it now.
All right. I'm taking notes on that.
Yeah, I sit back, and so if folks don't a lot of people don't watch the podcast on YouTube; they listen to it. So I sit here a lot of times, and when I'm being quiet, I'm usually looking at Alex to wait for him to do some stupid shit. I think stupid. It could be the smallest thing, and then like I got a handful of darts, and I'm just hitting that bullseye every time. And I wait till he gets to going before I'm like, oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, shit. The funniest thing ever with Alex. So it was one of his first episodes back from his last little tour. We had Blaine Upton on. And so I was messaged Blaine without Alex. I said, hey man, we're going to fuck with Alex tonight because he's in the hotel rooms. Right.
Right.
And so I said, his internet sucks, this and that. I said, we're going to fuck with him. When we come on, let Alex get into the little intro that we do. Excuse me. I said, I'm just going to start talking, and I'm going to be talking to you. And then when I start, you just start talking. And it doesn't matter what we say. It can be gibberish. It doesn't matter. Just when I stop talking, you start talking. And then when you stop talking, when we'll let Alex talk, and then I'll cut him off and start talking. And so we did this. And
his face had to have been getting just red.
Oh my God. He got red. He started doing, he started like fucking looking at all his shit. He signed off. When he signed off, I lost it. And I was in Blaine lost it. I was like, yes, it worked. He signed off. We did it. He signed back on and was sitting there like But dude. I mean, your memes do embrace the wackiness of the bullshit that we do on here, and that's the funny part about it. That's what I love about memes, right? They can take a huge thing and they break it down into 3, 4, 6 pictures and a few little text, and it can make sense. And that shit is funny as hell, man.
Sometimes it's like there was a meme that that I just kind of put together, and it was like this big guy in armor, right? Like think of like a medieval guy dressed in armor, just like
AKA a knight. Yeah, there's a word for that. They're called knights.
Whatever. And he's got the little eye hole, right? To see out of. And the picture, it shows him just in that. And then the next one is like an arrow that gets right in there. And it's like you have your weed guard, and then you have weeds, and everybody gets it. Like if you're into fishing, you're like, the jig is covered in weeds. What the fuck is this weed guard doing? Or it's like there's so many little things that can be used in memes that just say so much without having to say anything at all.
That's right. Yeah.
It's great.
Can relate to that too. I mean, you take all what we were talking about earlier with the fuck ups that you have. Is you can create a meme on a fuck up, and people are like, you know what, that shit happens to me every damn time I go out fishing too. Like getting your hook on your anchor trolley line on the side of the boat at the very front, where you can't reach it without the threat of falling your fat ass off the kayak. So you have to paddle out to get it off, because it's the one lure you're catching fish on right now.
Have you ever fallen out of your kayak?
Oh hell no! I am super duper careful in that thing, because like none of my shit's tied down. It's if the kayak tips over, the shit's gone. It's gone. I'm super duper careful in it with that for that main reason. So, but I was a wildland firefighter for 10 years. So everything you did, you really had to be mindful about every step you made or every action you made, just because of the hazards. And that's who I am inherently. So I'm always thinking, here's a good example. I caught a big ass fish, 22.5 inches in a tournament last month. Well, I get this fish up, and it's got a busted like left eye. Well, anybody that kayak fishes know when you put the fish on the bump board, the left eye is looking up. Well, one of the ways that judges look for quality of the fish, make sure it's not dead, is the eye. That's one of the first things they look at. And so the eye's busted. I'm like, fuck, I get the pictures. I'm like, well, I have to videotape this fish swimming off just in case, because 22.5 inch fish, fish is in the running for big fish.
Of course.
$250 pot. So I said, I got a damn. So I got a Hobie PA-14. I get this fish and I put it in the water, just regular, and it ain't going. Like it's an old, it's 22.5 inches, only weigh 5 pounds, 9 ounces. It was a whoa ass. I bet this fish was 50 years old. I mean, it was old. I'm being facetious, y'all.
Of course.
It was old though. It was old. It looked like a great white shark. It had battle scars all on its back and shit. Anyway, I'm like, I got to get a video release. So I'm in the middle of the lake, literally the middle of the lake, And at this point in time, it's like 10:30. So all the jet skis are out. All the damn big weight boats are out. It's not going anywhere. So I end up laying down. I'm 6'1", like 250. And I'm contortioned into my kayak, laying down, trying to get my left hand in the water to be able to work this fish back and forth and videotape my right hand. And the waves are coming. I'm floating in the middle of the fucking lake. And so I'm very mindful of all this because if I tip,
You're screwed. Yeah.
So I was very mindful of it. But no, I have not tipped out. I almost did at Santee during the Hobie event.
You know,
I was shallow water and I had the fins were down and I was fishing this little grass mat. And that first day the wind was blowing like Hurricane Hugo.
Brutal.
And the fins hit a stump and my kayak goes whoop. I posted a short and I posted the video. It's on my YouTube channel, Paul Hills. But if I'd have been standing up, I would have definitely gone over. But the problem with going over in Santee is there's fucking giant alligators in there. And I did not want to get ate by alligator.
But also, you're probably not too far away from like 3 feet of water,
Well, no, it was in like 3 foot of water.
Yeah.
But alligators will kill you in a foot of water.
True.
I mean,
Fair.
Let's
Fair
be
point.
real.
Fair
They grab your leg or your arm and rip that bitch off. You're gonna die.
Dude,
I don't want that. But anyway, I've had a couple close instances, but in general, I'm very mindful of that shit because I don't like I have good stuff. I don't have great stuff. I have good stuff, but it's taken me a long time to get what I got.
Yeah.
And I don't want to lose that shit to the bottom of the lake.
I was very close to losing literally everything, maybe even like something that you can't replace on Norman earlier this year. That was the most scared that I've ever, like I said, I've been fishing out of a kayak for a long time. I was on Lake Norman. It was February. The water was like 50 degrees. And the wind, it was the Queen City event, and the wind picked up, and it was blowing probably 20, 30 gusts of 40 miles an hour. And I had to cross the main channel going back to the ramp. Dude, the water started, like the nose of my kayak would be buried in water.
What kayak are you in?
A native Titan 12. And that thing would be, so I mean, it's a barge, like it's super stable, super wide. But what was happening is there was water getting into the hull from the hatch in the front. Whew, I was probably a half a mile in every direction from land. The pucker
as
level,
bad as it gets.
The pucker level was I was trying not to hyperventilate. I was like,
you weren't trying to bail some water while you were doing that?
I couldn't. It was in the it was in the hull, not in
on the Hobie, if it gets like that, we got that little
you got that little hatch
compartment
right next to
that you can start to bail some. But that's the other thing too, with wind like that in the middle of the lake. If you got to be able to, like on a kayak, the worst thing is getting broadsided by the waves. But
I was going straight into them.
Okay, well, see, that's good. That's good. That's good from a safety perspective. That's the best way to be,
right?
Unless you're taking on water.
But I was going straight into that, and I'm telling you, dude, the water was fucking with the stability of the kayak. So if I was going this way, water would rush over this way. So I'm like trying to come back this way and this way, dude. Like I didn't sleep well that night for like a couple nights actually, because I was like,
was that this past year? Didn't y'all have 2 people go in the water during that event?
That event had like 2 or 3 people bailed. I know John Ladd, like he fell in at the ramp, I think, like real close to the ramp. So it wasn't his, but there was a couple guys that lost everything. And but I'm telling you, dude, I was nowhere near land. And it was 75 feet of water, and
gone.
and I'm like, where do I swim to if I dump? Like where do I go? And so
Wherever the
oh
wind and
man,
current takes you is the
I know.
easiest way.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
just get on your back with your PFD on, and push your arms forward and kick your
Yeah.
legs, and you just go
Yeah.
wherever you can get to land. That's it.
Mhm.
But that's the crazy thing. But kayaks too are made to float. Like them bitches ain't gonna
Oh, I
sink.
know. Right.
So as long as you can stay upright,
Hmm.
you're okay. The
Hmm.
problem is freaking out and overcorrecting
Hmm.
one way or the other.
That's
That's
what
where
I
you mess
knew. I was
up.
like,
Yeah.
I had to stay calm and try to just like not die.
Well, see, if the wind would have been broadsiding you in those ways about you'd have been fucked.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
100%.
the best case scenario was into even behind you,
Hmm.
because you ever been on
Oh
a
yeah.
really really windy day where the waves get behind you and you're
Hmm.
surfing the wave and your kayak is like,
Yep.
looks
Oh
like a
yeah.
damn dolphin
Yeah.
going through the wave. That shit
Yeah.
ain't fun either.
Yep. But yeah, like, and those are the kinds of things, like, to get back to like the memes and stuff, like that's the type of shit I like to make memes about, like just weird shit that happens when you're out on the water, right? And so, that's just that's kind of what I think about. But I've gotten, I've had some memes that hit a little too close to home to people, and some memes that didn't go over well, and so like you got to sometimes be careful. It's like I reached out before I made anything about Alex Rudd, because like I don't know the guy. Like if I knew him, it'd be no holds barred. Like I wouldn't, I just
But
fire
you
him
were
off.
making a bass and brooms bass and brooms. What the
Bass
fuck
and
am I
brooms.
talking about?
Oh,
That's the new podcast. Welcome to Bass and Brooms, y'all. But you making a Bass and Brews meme. I don't give a shit who the third party is. They don't count. Like when they came on here, they signed a contract that anything that happens afterwards associated with this podcast, they're associated with.
I like it.
They
I
didn't
like
actually
it.
sign anything, and we didn't tell
Right.
them that, but it's
More of like
implied.
a more of like an completely unspoken agreement, like 100% unspoken.
Look, as long as one party knows what the rules are, those are
Yeah,
the rules.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so do you? And I'll say this: we got a lot of memes from you. We get memes from other people, and for Alex and I, that shit's flattery. Like
Of course.
for somebody one to take time out of their day and to listen and to watch this podcast, like to us, that makes us giddy. That
Yeah.
makes us happy. That people, because this is a fucking commitment. Our shit's 2 hours long on average.
Hmm.
It's a commitment. And so to have people talk to us about the podcast and know that they listen and watch, like that makes us feel good. We don't make any money. We don't have any sponsors. Like we do this shit because we enjoy it. It's fun. But I would say probably the biggest thing that's kept us going are folks like you and so many other people that have invested their time into that. And so we've gotten, we back to the point of the memes, we've gotten memes from other people. And I want everybody to hear this. That shit makes us feel good, right? That people do that and they have a good time with it, and that they feel free to pick on us
Hmm.
and to make and to highlight the stupid shit that we do. Like that, man,
Yeah.
to me and Alex, we have made it. When folks feel like they can send us doing, a meme of us doing some stupid shit that's poking fun at us, we love that. And
Hmm.
that's what this podcast is. It's just open forum.
Hmm.
Be who you are. And to get that stuff, like we're grateful for everybody who does that, grateful for people who listen, because we want it to be fun.
Hmm.
And we want the people who are listening to have a good time and enjoy it. So that's what it comes down to. But the memes are fun. And it's funny you said, like you said, so do you make a bunch of memes for a bunch of other stuff and just throw it out there? Or do you make a meme, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna save this one for me and the wifey?
Well, so when it comes to memes, like it's
Hey,
funny
real quick,
because
because the memes, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, memes were huge.
Mhm.
And now they've kind of tapered off. They're not as big as they once were. Not that they're not big, but they're not as big as they once were. I think that right now they're an underutilized piece of social media.
Yeah. So, and I have some thoughts on that. Is just as far as like when I started, like when I first started, like actually like downloaded the meme making app, which was like when I first got into starting to make memes. Basically, it was just me downloading a stupid app on my phone because I had ideas and I was like, I could do that, and
Did you pilot your meme making with your wife first? Did you make stupid memes of her doing dumb shit and be like, "Hey,
no,
look how funny this," or did you post it and be like, "Look at my new meme"? It's like, you better
no,
take that shit off, Hambone. Does she
right?
call you Hambone?
No, no.
What?
She usually
We're gonna have to
calls.
talk to her about
I
that
know,
because
I know.
you should be called Hambone.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But no, honestly, I started making memes for the Queen City group. We had a couple events where, some cool shit happened. Like the first year we went to Santee, I wasn't able to go to fish that one, but that was the first time in the club that anybody had broken 80 inches in a day. And
Mm.
4 fish, that's
Four
fucking
fish.
getting
Four
after it.
fish. Oh
40
yeah.
fish at 80 inches is like, holy shit. And it was like 86 inches. So
Good
like
Lord. Who the hell was that?
I think it
Saturday.
was no, no, it was I think it was Matt Hodge, which is a
Uh,
fucking household name in the kayak world now.
yeah.
At least around here it is. He's basically done everything. He's won, I think, a couple TOCs. He's been AOI. He's won countless events. Like it's just enough, dude. Okay, enough. But I just, I would look at some of the events and like just how people finished and kind of some of the things that happen during the day. Like if it's a day of struggle where there's like 10 people who got a limit, that's going to be a topic for a meme, And so I would just make memes for like pre-fishing, um, tournament day or just kind of stuff like that. And then it just kind of, snowballed from there. But one thing I don't like to do is like I'll follow some of the groups on like NC bass fishing and just some of like the Facebook groups that are local around here, and you see the same memes over and over and over again, the same formats, the same like
Yeah.
everything else.
Pretty much boobies with a different word.
Right. And I'm just like,
I like boobies though, so I still
yeah,
watch.
I
I
know
still
for
look.
sure, for sure. But I just when I see like a format being overused or like a specific topic being overused, I tend to stay away from it because like I could make that meme 100 times in different ways, but it just doesn't. It's not as creative for me. It's not as fun. It's not as targeted. Like I typically like to make stuff about things that I have a vested interest in. So like with the Bass and Brews, I listen to the show. If I'm thinking about it, I'll see a meme format and I'm like, oh hell yeah, and that idea will come to me, or if it's like, some of the guys in the group and it fits somebody's personality perfect, I'll make that meme and push it through. I really the one kind of format that I was late on was the Tiger Woods and the who's the other golfer? God, that's fucking
John Daly.
hilarious. Yeah,
John
John
Daly.
Daly. Yeah, and that one I kind of missed out on. Like that one's, it moves quick.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah, that's right.
like
Yeah.
it just goes super fast. But um, it just it's fun because it's like it's so current. You can make them so fast. You had a guy on here. I don't remember his name, but he was talking about like TikTok being easy because he can sit down for an hour and make 15
So
TikToks.
that was Paul from Burley Fishing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Paul
he
from
can.
Burley Fishing.
And it's so true. I mean, when you're working full time, the YouTube videos, like if you got shit to do on the weekend, like you're not gonna make a video that week, you know, and it's just hard to get out and do that. So like
So how
the
many memes can you make sitting on the toilet taking a dookie?
well, I mean, it depends. Like, after $20 worth of Taco Bell, probably, 5 to 10,
There you
15
go.
maybe,
I mean,
but I mean,
the average man is gonna sit on the toilet
right,
and pitch one off for at least 15 to 30 minutes.
right,
And I know
exactly.
that's not an average, that's a range, but we're gonna call it what it is.
Hmm.
What is the best Queen City meme you ever made? And did somebody get mad about it?
I think the best one that I ever made was about The Last Cheater. It has to be, because I shared
Which
that
one
shit
was that?
on.
Because I know I saw it.
I
Yeah.
shared that shit on Kayak Bass Nation too, and fucking, oh my god,
Oh shit! I know what. I can't remember it, but I know. Yes. Okay.
it's
Okay.
Guess Who, like the old board game, like where
Yeah.
you have the tray of people, and
Yeah.
you're like, does your person have gray hair or whatever it is? And they're like, nope, yep,
Gray
something
beard.
shit like that. So I made that meme was like, like, do you follow the rules in a kayak bass fishing event? And yes, and then you flip that person down, like, and I just photoshopped that person's face on the
Yes,
card.
I do remember that one
Yeah.
now. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
that's got to be like the best one, right? And obviously that person would probably not like that meme, but
But they cheated,
I
so they
think
don't
they
count
fucking
anymore.
cheated, and they cheated in a fucking charity event too, man.
But it went back. They ended up having
Oh yeah.
quite a few events that
Hmm.
they went back and reviewed, and
Yeah.
the same cheating way was found out.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. Hey, look, bass fishing, the cheating in kayak bass fishing ain't new, because cheating in fishing, competition fishing, has been around a
Oh
long
yeah.
time. Matter of fact, it was a couple months ago they had the teenage kids got caught with fish baskets. I can't remember what the hell it was, Florida. I don't remember, but there were there were teenage kids out there fishing tournaments and got caught with fish baskets.
Yeah.
I think it was bad. I could be wrong. It don't matter, but they were cheating. So
Yeah.
I mean, the majority, especially in the kayak world, a majority of the rules, because of how we have to submit fish for judging, there's no oversight there.
Hmm.
And so there's ways that people have come up with clever ways, but they get caught. I mean, the cutting the fish tails and people putting stuff up under them, and then trimming,
Oh,
cutting the fins and tails to make them look different. I mean, it's all
we
kinds of crazy
had
shit.
we had one other instance of cheating in Queen City. It was years ago. It was an event that, like, I think there were literally three legal fish caught out of a group of like 50 to 70 people. There are people in this event, and I'm one of them, that still have not fished that lake since that event. Like, this was
What
like,
lake is it?
it's Lookout Shoals. It's between uh is it between it's either between Norman and Hickory, I think. Something like that. It's
With the name, if a lake or a body of water has shoal in it, that's already a shitty ass bass fishing pond.
So it was the first and basically the last time that the club's ever been there. And like, I wasn't
Vinny said, "Fuck no" on
oh
that one.
yeah. I wasn't good at fishing at that point at all. Like, I was basically awful. But
Not much more than what you are now,
exactly.
but
But
not as good. Yeah,
well, I
you were
couldn't.
awfuler then, but now you're
Yes.
just plain awful.
Right.
That's
Yes.
okay. I'm still awfuler.
So there's, like I said, there's still people that I have not stepped foot. I won't even think about that lake when I'm like thinking about where I want to go, because of that day. There were three legal fish caught, but all of a sudden this guy comes in with a limit and wins literally everything.
Yeah,
And he was catching two fish. Like, he put a picture up of two fish on at the same time. And the rig he was using, I swear I remember this picture. The rig he was using was a blade bait on a drop shot rig. So it was like the blade bait was on the bottom as the weight, and then
smart.
like up was like the drop shot worm.
That's
So
smart. Damn, I'm
right,
fucking going to do that
right,
shit. Hell
and
yeah,
and
dude. Wintertime. Oh my god,
so, but he had a
I'm about
fish
to go
on
tie that
both.
bitch on tonight.
But he had a fish on both,
Right?
and he was holding it up. And let me tell you, the water was like yoo-hoo. It was so muddy, and it was just the worst fishing conditions ever. And he was the only person to post a limit. And what I'll say now is what's kind of cool with the way that, especially like Vinny has always been above the board. I think that's why a lot of his club has been so successful is he's so black and white on the rules that the fish's mouth is either closed or it's open.
Yep.
And
It's either, if it's opened, DQ, motherfucker. I love it.
and he's always been like that. And what's cool is now especially is he's not necessarily judging all of the fish. So you got different people looking at these fish, and this was back before I think Tourney X even existed. And so we would all have to submit we wait in line and take our phones up there, and you'd be looking and all that stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
And you'd have to post your pictures up to the Facebook group after the event so that everybody could see your fish, like the top, like the caching places.
Yeah, smart.
And people started looking at this guy's fish, and they're like, dude, everything's red. The eyes are glossed over. Like, these fish are dead. And I think we ended up getting all of that money back and all the prizes and stuff, and everything was kind of distributed to the rightful winners. But I think that's one cool thing about.
So what was he doing? Did y'all figure out what he had done?
I think he just brought them with him. They were frozen or something like that.
But you said 50, 60 people at this tournament. Then this would have been early. Back when there wasn't. You didn't quite know what to look for with the cheaters at the time. It's a new cheat.
This was way back when, and I mean, it was just kind of like something that. It's funny because the event that I won, which is way back in 2019, the only event that I've won is. I caught all my fish, and I got video of everything and stuff, but like for like 2 or 3 days after that event, I had imposter syndrome so bad where I was like, I fucked something up. I guarantee I fucked something up. Every phone call or text message that I got, I was like, oh, that's it. Somebody found out I fucked something up. And they're going to take all the money away, and I'm going to be disgraced.
My wife's going to leave me for being a cheater. I won $300, and now I'm going to have to give it back.
I won like $1,200 that, like $1,300 that day.
So that's the thing about Queen City too, is like you're fishing. I think y'all are averaging 120 people this year. I think the last number I heard. But y'all 120 people at a kayak tournament. That's national level. This is a grassroots club with no motors. Yeah. This is all manually powered kayaks, and they they're raking it in, man. It's
I don't.
There's a lot, and we've said this before in some other podcasts. Excuse me. The level of competition in y'all's club is, as much as people like to have a good time and y'all have a lot of camaraderie, but people are there to whoop each other's asses.
Oh yeah.
I mean, first and foremost, they want to whoop your ass.
Dude, it's wild, man. Like I said, way back when I was fishing these first ones, people were like 65 inches. And then I think Saturday at one event in April on Lake Wiley, I had like 65 inches. And I'm like, oh shit, I got a chance at this one. Saturday Mel comes in with like 71 inches or something like that, which is one of the first times that we had ever seen that type of bag. And I didn't even cash a check with 65, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But even this year, we did our Yadkin chain event, and I was fishing High Rock, and I had 71 inches, and I was 7th with 71 inches, and I was like, what is happening? Because usually it used to be, like it's funny because you could go way back and you're like, all right, 65 inches, you're probably cashing a check, if not winning, right? And then a couple years later, it's like, all right, the magic number is about 70, and now the magic number is 72. Now the magic number is 74. And honestly, I don't know if there's been an event outside of like Watery. Watery was brutal for everybody, but like I think every other event has taken 76-ish inches to win 4 fish. And I mean, that's getting after it. That's having a real good day on the water. Even this charity event, I think was like in the 70s. So It's
I mean, that's
competitive,
crazy.
man.
Yeah, it's super competitive, and you see that because when Queen City folks head to national tournaments, there's always that Queen City guy that makes noise. I mean, y'all. It's in for me being a competitive person and grew up playing sports, right? Competition and somebody excelling breeds more competition, and it breeds more people excelling. The competition increases, so the people's skills increase, especially with fishing, where there's no athletic ability to this. Is skill based, 100% skill based.
Oh yeah.
So to see that and to see how y'all perform nationally, I mean, that says a lot about the competitive nature of that club, but also that y'all can have a good time with it too, to have that many people. Have you fished? Do you fish a lot of national trails, or do you just fish the ones that are local?
Yeah, so I've fished a couple of the Hobies that have been in conjunction with Queen City. Actually, I only fished one, which was the Lake Norman event. The other ones,
You didn't fish Stancy this year?
I fished the Queen City side. I
Okay.
didn't fish the 2 days. I should have, but I mean, it was just really steep for me to fish when I like literally the first time I ever looked at that lake was when I was putting my kayak in the water the Saturday of the event. So
I drove down from North Carolina.
yeah.
I got there at 3:00. Pre-fishing on Friday. Pre-fishing ended at 3:00. So I went and looked at the two ramps that I had found that I wanted to launch from, and I chose my ramp, and that was as much pre-fishing as I had.
Mhm.
And I missed. So the first day was tough for everybody.
Mhm.
I missed 3 fish on a frog that probably would have had me somewhere around that 70-inch mark. They were good. They were good fish, and that would have put me,
Oh yeah.
potentially being able to be up there. I think at 70 inches would have had you to like top 30 or 35 or something. So you
Mhm.
potentially could have. Now at the end of day 2, I don't even know my fish. Anyway, it don't fucking matter. So the second day, I thought about hitting a little pond up that I grew up fishing on the way back home, or staying and fishing, but I wanted to stay and fish, and so I went to another ramp and checked out some areas. But that's my only national event. But it's
Mhm.
cool that Queen City is here, because Queen City does help draw some of those
Mhm.
that national tournament, especially the Hobie side, right? Because they don't have motors. It draws those in because Queen City is going to say, shit, we're going to have 115 to 120 people just for Queen City will sign up.
Yeah.
And a majority of them are going to sign up for both days. And I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure Queen City had like 4 out of the top 10 people, because Vinny and who was the other one? Was it Ving? Vinny and
Yeah,
somebody else
I think
ended
so.
up finishing like in the top 5 because they had
Yeah.
a fucking
Dude,
massive second
Vinny
day.
crushed them
Yeah,
day
it
2, like
was insane.
105 inches. That's
Yeah,
it's getting
but that's
after it.
that's Santee for you.
Yeah.
That's Santee for
I think
sure.
I had 3 fish on Saturday, and it kind of salvaged my day. I caught one early on a on a stick bait, and then I caught another one just flipping I think a rage bug, and around some of those cypress trees
Where'd
back
you
in
put
like a little
in?
pocket.
Where'd you put in on Saturday?
I couldn't fucking tell you. I don't remember. Uh, I drove down. I drove down, and I think, oh God, I'd have to look at a map and tell you the name of
Yeah.
it. But
Okay.
um, there were quite a few.
I can't tell you online where I put in,
Yeah.
because believe it or not, it is still a sneaky little hole.
Okay.
I can tell you later if you want to know, but it
Yeah.
is a sneaky little hole.
Well, we
Even
got.
people. I stayed with Jordan Marshall, Matt Millard, and and hashtag pro Eric.
Yeah.
And so I showed him where I was putting in. I'm like, how did you find that? Because these are 3 guys that fish
Oh
nationally
yeah.
or competitive nationally.
Big time. Didn't
Um,
Jordan just get back from Sweden?
yeah,
Didn't he
Jordan.
fish? I
that
haven't watched
country ass
anything about that, but like I
that
gotta go
country
back and
ass
watch like.
bumpkin went to Sweden,
Yeah.
and pretty much the whole time there, all he did, it looked like a redneck episode of what's the Anthony Bourdain
Oh yeah.
show, him tasting
Shit.
food and
Yeah.
shit that he was
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
With his reviews on this don't taste like home. just don't taste like home. But yeah,
Let
he
me-
was there with Hobie
Mhm.
for the Hobie Worlds. Man, golly, that sounds like an awesome time.
Dude, amazing. And I'll tell you, the food is definitely interesting. I spent some time in Germany when I was in college, just like on a short little study abroad. But like, dude, like, I don't know, man.
But see,
And
I
it's not like
love,
it was here, but
yeah.
Burger King, Burger King was the shit there. Like
See,
they served you like,
oh shit.
oh yeah.
Damn it, boy. They probably had real good burger meat in their
Hmm.
burgers too.
Probably.
I love food. I love authentic food.
Hmm.
That's my thing. So I love to eat anywhere that I've ever traveled, albeit regionally or state to state in the states, and the few times I've been out of the country. My whole goal is to eat the local
Everything.
fare.
Oh yeah,
That's what I
absolutely.
like. But when you go, the few times I've been overseas, the way food is prepared, there's a lot more pickling. I like to call it pickling attitude. Like it's not overcooked. It's usually undercooked, but in
Hmm.
some way or form, it's cooked with some kind of acid, like
Yeah.
it's just, and that's a very generalization.
Yeah.
But I love the food. I love following that. And shout out to Christine Fisher, finished in the top 5,
Yeah.
which is
I mean, that's
amazing
awesome, man.
out
I,
there.
I got
That's
to
right
watch
up
all
her
that
alley.
stuff. And
Yeah,
I,
I have a problem though. I have a problem with folks, at least Lambert and Marshall going over there with them calling them pike, because those motherfuckers are jackfish. If that bitch is long, slimy, and got teeth, it is a jackfish. It ain't it. It ain't a pickerel or whatever
but
bullshit
what are you
names.
calling a muskie then?
A fucking jackfish.
No, 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 no,
Look, man, I'm
no,
from
dude,
South
come
Carolina.
on,
You know how
man.
many muskie I've seen in real life? Nary a
Ah,
one. That
dude,
bitch is a jackfish. It's a
mm,
jackfish. If it's long, slender, and got teeth, it's a jackfish. I don't care who
man.
you are. It's a jackfish. But for sure, pike and pickerel are definitely
Yeah,
jackfish. Now, I will
yeah,
make exceptions for muskie and walleye, shit like that. But the rest of it is jackfish. And I would really appreciate any American that goes across the seas and fishes. If they're talking about pike, I really appreciate it if y'all assholes called it jackfish. That's what it is.
all right, all right, all right. But
Look, don't
you
come
know,
on here, don't pretend
hey,
to be Alex and disagree with me on names of fish,
all right.
because the southern people know how to name their fish.
So that was one thing that I had to adjust to when I moved down here is like brim, BREAM. What the fuck
Yeah.
is that? I mean, it was all bluegill and, sunfish or panfish or anything like that when I was in Michigan. So, maybe that was just because I didn't really fish that much, and I really regret the amount of time that I didn't spend fishing for smallmouth on the Great Lakes, the Saginaw Bay, you know, uh, any of those lakes in Michigan. Um, not getting out there and fishing some of that big water and all that. But that's what you get for being like an athlete that's sort of good at baseball and stuff like that.
So the second time you referenced you were an athlete, you played baseball, huh?
I played baseball for up until like I've messed around on the club team in my freshman year in college. But baseball was my big one. I wrestled for a little while, and those were kind of the two sports that I really kind of got into. And then I have this little bit of time that I spent as like a wannabe bodybuilder. I did like a bodybuilding show, and I actually
Nice.
worked in the fitness industry for like 10 years, over
Hell
10
yeah.
years really. But I
So
was like
that's why you wear Lululemon.
yeah, so I was like, as a personal trainer for a while and certified and all that kind of stuff. So, and then I worked for a supplement distributor that we have here in Charlotte for a long time, for over 10 years. And but then obviously got out of that with COVID, kind of squashed the fitness industry pretty bad.
It's pretty tough time for the fitness.
Yeah. So, but you talk about being competitive, and that's definitely like for somebody who grows up playing sports and wants to stay competitive, you need something like I figured you can like golf, which seems terrible to me, or you can fish. And and that's why I don't think like I kind of go back and forth. I'm like, do I want to do like this YouTube thing, or do I want to fish competitively, and or do both? And sometimes you kind of regret posting some of those videos of like a special dock that you have or something. But like we all know, I mean, listen, there's not a dock on Lake Norman that you can fish that 1,000 other people haven't fished 1,000 times. But at the same time, like I don't want to be shouting it out loud. And that's kind of something that I've struggled with a little bit. And I think, some content creators that fish a lot locally would kind of agree with, sometimes you don't want to give away that little spot that you have that you kind of rely on or go to and see somebody else there, but
Well, you don't have to post that in the video, but to back up a little bit about vernacular for fish, brim is a big one. So when I first started in wildland firefighting, we had guys come down from Michigan and Minnesota to South Carolina. We were seasonal firefighters, so they came down in January, and we did a bunch of prescribed burning down in South Carolina until March, April. Usually April is when everybody kind of dispersed and went out west, and then their fire assignments out west and stuff. So these guys come down there. First time they come down there, we're in McBee, South Carolina, where I grew up. And, we talk about fishing and hunting and all this and that. Well, first of all, when I was talking about brim, they had no idea what the fuck I was talking about. They were like, you mean bluegill? Yeah. I'm like, well, bluegill is a brim, but all bluegill are brim, but not all brim are bluegill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of people catch a brim and they call it a bluegill. I'm like, bitch, that's a pumpkin seed.
Yeah.
Or, that's a warmouth or whatever it is.
Shell cracker or something. Yeah.
You got to get your shit right down here, damn it. A brim is anything that ain't a bass, catfish, or crappie.
Yeah.
Or jackfish.
Jackfish. I was going to say, you better say jackfish if you're going to chastise people about it.
That's for sure. Now, on the part about being competitive, and I've said this numerous times on this podcast, when I had a 10-year hiatus of not fishing, and I lived a quarter mile from the Savannah River, 20 minutes from Clark's Hill, an hour from Murray. I mean, hour and 45 minutes from Santee, no fishing. Part of it was because of my job. Mm-hmm. Plus, I started making babies. And, if you've ever made a baby, the rest of your shit don't mean nothing no more for a while. Mm-hmm. So anyway, when we move back here, I'm going to start fishing. Obviously, Jordan, Sharon Harris, all these lakes around here, 15 minutes from Sharon Harris, 20 minutes from most of the launches in Jordan. But I wanted to start back fishing for the competitive side of it. Like I was strictly looking to join a bass boat club and know what I was going to have to fish out the back of the boat. But, I can make friends, and there's some team tournaments here. And, had this whole thing in my mind. I ran across a guy that had a rigged out PA-12 one day when I was farting around on my little podunk kayak in Harris. And so that's what got me into it. I was like, damn, this is awesome. I can kayak fish and compete. We got 2 local trails. We got these national trails. That fed that fire for me. Yeah. Because I don't like the fun fish. Like if I go out by myself or with my son, I'm practicing a technique, I'm practicing my graphs, I'm doing something that translates into the tournament side. Or if I go out on a buddy's bass boat, I'm keeping fucking score. They might not be, but I am. I'm talking shit the whole time. Like I like that. I'm 40 years old. I'm scared to death if I go play basketball, I'm going to blow out one of my knees because one of them bitches hurts every day. It scares me to death to have surgery. So I'm like, the worst thing happens to me fishing is I get a hook in my hand. I pass out for a few minutes, and then I get back up and I go back to fishing. And I'll tell you, if I ever had a hook in my damn hand so bad you just couldn't pop it out, I probably would get lightheaded and potentially pass out. But I would wake up, and then I would figure out how to at least go back to fishing. But the competitive edge to me is that I grew up playing sports my whole life, played college ball. That stuff, like I need that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of anglers that do any kind of competitive fishing, there's a fire in them. And if you
Mm-hmm.
look at the highest levels of touring professionals, because we got to separate that now, because you have professional anglers that don't compete.
Right.
They make a living off of fishing, which is still a pro. But touring professionals, Bass MLF, those guys have fucking killer mentalities.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they think and operate mentally and physically on a whole different level than 99% of the other people. I mean, you know, you hear this all the time. People say, well, shit, if I had enough money and much time on the water, I could compete with those guys. Well, you know what? You can go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. You can go do it right now. It's not the
winning
same.
everything around you. Every tournament that you enter, if you're not winning that, then you're not doing what those guys are doing.
Here's the thing. You can go fish. You can go out on the water and do that. There's no physical limitation.
Yep.
And honestly, there's no monetary limitation. I mean, you can damn get credit cards at the wazoo. Most of it, it doesn't matter. You can't say, oh, well, shit, if I had the time and the money to train and have personal trainers and to throw a football every day, I could go be an NFL quarterback. You don't ever hear no motherfucker say that.
Mm-hmm.
But they say that shit with fishing all the time. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? No. It is a whole different mentality.
Yeah.
You have to, there's shit that it's just, I'll get on a rant with this shit right here because when it comes down to
patience too. I mean, you have to have that.
It's mental. 99% of their shit
100%.
Fishing is mental. The rest is how they fish. But it's the small things that they can pick out that the 99% of the anglers miss. I mean, it's a whole different ball game. But the competitive side of fishing is what's fun, man. That's the drive to it. And that's why you see 120 people at Queen City. That's why you see on our local trails, 50 people. Obviously in the summertime, a lot of people drop, but we have 60, 70 people at the beginning of the season because they want to compete. Now, a lot of them do want to come out and just have fun and fish in a tournament. And if they win, they win. But, there's a majority of us, the people that are fishing tournaments right now, they're wired just a little bit different. Wired a little bit different to go out and compete.
And I think too, with Queen City, I think Vinny does a great job of like celebrating his winners too, and celebrating the anglers.
Vinny pumps his people up, and that is awesome. Yeah,
and that's one thing that I think a lot of people chase too, is you get that shine, you get that time in front of the whole club, you get that time that there's a lot of people that follow Queen City and see what Queen City's doing and how they're getting things going with kayak fishing, and when you're on that top of that list and you get that chance to kind of talk and stuff, it's fun. And that's why I think a lot of people are chasing that too. And you gotta take care of the anglers. I mean, you look at all the top level organizations, like you have to, without the anglers, you don't have anything,
That's a whole different rant that
I
have.
Of course.
The pro touring side is they wouldn't exist without the anglers, but they don't necessarily treat the anglers like they should be. But we ain't going to get into that shit tonight for sure. But I will hop onto that with our two. So we have two local clubs. One of them is local to Raleigh. So and that's CCKF, Central Carolina Kayak Fishing. And then we have Carolina Kayak Anglers. They're more in the Greensboro area, even though they do fish our lakes here. But those clubs were much smaller. We're half the size on average as y'all. But they're different. One's a little bit higher entry point. One's a little bit lower entry point for the fees to enter the tournament. But they're both geared towards we have 10-inch limits, right? Because we won't kid, and we do. This last tournament we had Saturday, there are two kids, high school age kids, that fish, and their dads come out. One dad paddles around in a canoe behind the son, just make sure he's safe and this and that. But they finished in the top 5.
Nice.
And it our local clubs, and they say this, they're here to get people interested in the kayak fishing and a way for them to come out and to do some tournament fishing. Now, the way that I look at that is that these kids get into the kayak and they come out as teenagers and they fish competitively in a kayak. What does that potentially do for them in the future with being a non-boater, or even potentially getting a boat and them creating them to be? That's part of the kayak world that I like, is that it, regardless of age, it could potentially groom some people to graduating into boat fishing that gets some well-rounded fishers in there.
It's funny you say that, because, dude, I mentioned this to Josh when I was sitting next to him at the Emerald event weigh-in.
You know what? Fuck Josh. We ain't talking about him no damn more, because he ain't texting me. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No, but I was just saying, like, what was I? What I was saying is, like,
on silent too. Asshole.
I was listening to some of the people that were talking at this event, and some of the winners, and some of the people that were, up that placed, did really well in that tournament. And they're like, yeah, so I started fishing, I started kayak fishing like a year ago. And, I'm like, you just beat like 80 or 90 other people in an event where everybody had exactly the same stuff. And you beat all those people. You've been fishing kayak out of a kayak for a year, man, fuck you. Because I've been fishing out of a kayak for
before people even knew you could fish out of kayak
for so long, and I sucked for so long before I ever got like any type of like a top 5 or top 10 or whatever it was. And I'm just like, I think the like, I can't think of the word off the top of my head right now, but the runway is so much shorter, for people are just like taking off right away. I think it has a lot to do with, obviously, things like YouTube, where all of that information is available on so many different places and from so many different things. I mean, me growing up, you're watching Roland Martin and Jimmy Houston, and Jimmy Houston is throwing a spinnerbait 95% of the time and catching these giants. And Bill Dance is
6 days worth of filming,
of course,
right?
But we
not
didn't know
all
that.
The time. I don't want to say that, but not all the time. But yeah,
and
Bill Dance is a private stock lakes catching his fish.
My 12-year-old ass doesn't know that, and so I'm sitting there watching these guys. Like, how the fuck are these guys catching all these fish? And I love to see it. Like, I love to see people succeed, in this stuff. But like, I'm sitting there looking like, how are you guys finishing in the top 10 kayak fishing for 1 year? And I'm sitting here grinding for like 10, and, and trying to make these like TOCs and everything else. It's just like, it's wild, man. Like, some of these guys, like, they're just wired for it. And, they're just catching these fish, and I was talking to a few guys like that. I was like, how are they catching these fish and doing so well in these tournaments? And they've been doing this for like a year. But again, that's not to say that they haven't been fishing for 15 years and then they just started getting into a kayak. But like, it's just interesting to see. And like, I enjoy it. I like seeing the sport grow, and more people getting into it.
Don't say that shit on this podcast. The sport ain't growing. Kayak fishing is growing, but the sport of fishing ain't growing. It ain't grown since the mid-90s. You can go listen to Ken Dukes talk about this shit, about, the growth of the sport and the age of entry and all this and that. But now, kayak fishing, the sport of kayak fishing is growing, because you can take it is the bridge that wasn't there 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Kayak fishing is the bridge from taking the bank angler to a boat angler.
Yep.
It's taking that bank angler, they're getting off the bank, and now they can go fish this point that they've been casting at for 10 years and can't ever reach it, right? Yep. But now they can go fish that. The point of entry, which is becoming an overused term, the point of entry allows people to go from the bank to the water to fish. So the industry of kayak fishing has grown. The fishing industry really hasn't. Now, we can make an argument with COVID and people getting out that it's grown, and that's probably truth to that. But how many of those people are not going to be doing it? But kayak fishing is growing for sure. But we don't look. we don't need more kayakers on the dam. Well, take our ass back to the bank.
No, I hear you.
But in general, kayak fishing is getting more people on the water, literally on the water. That's a unique thing because 20 years ago, nobody would have ever thought there's another way to grow this sport. But we've been able to grow it. And when people go from the bank to being able to be on the water to fish, they're buying different tackle. They're buying different gear. They're investing more money into other techniques and learning other techniques. Like there's a growth in kayak fishing is growing that niche. Yeah. It's not growing the sport of fishing.
Right.
The people that are going from the bank or the boat to the kayak are already fishing. It's growing the niche of kayak fishing. So there's a lot into that. But, this comes back to why you see the local, these grassroots clubs being successful in a lot of areas. We're in the Wild Wild West, man. We're in the heyday of kayak fishing. I think we're 2 or 3 years from it peaking.
Right.
And then you're going to start to see the poorly run clubs dissipate, and you're going to start to see a more centralized in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to look more like the bass boat world with the regional and local tournaments. It's going to be more compressed.
And you have to, the height has to go higher for the smaller clubs to get bigger.
Right. But the good clubs are going to be there. And then, for whatever reason, attendance, poorly run, whatever reason, the other clubs are going to dissipate. For sure. You're going to have that, but you're going to see a consolidation, I guess, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
In the kayak fishing, in the next probably 5 years, you're going to see a consolidation of it. But it's fun. While there's not a lot of frontiers left out there, and we're getting to participate in a frontier right now, and it's really cool and interesting to be a part of that. And it's fun to see the fucking craziness and wildness of shit that goes on in the kayak world. It's fun as hell, man. Yeah. And some people don't like it. Oh, it's bad for the sport. I'm like, no, fuck no. There ain't no such thing as bad publicity. It's how you use that publicity that makes it bad or good.
It was funny. There was a bass guy that was shitting on kayak anglers, and they called him lake lice. I'm like, you better get used to lake lice, because there's gonna be a lot.
Lake lice or jet skis. Lake lice or jet skis.
Yeah, but it was just funny to me. Lake lice. I thought it was clever and creative.
Hey, one of y'all's boys from Queen City tore old boy's ass up in Alabama, didn't he? Who was that? Jeremy Hughes.
Oh yeah, with the fight.
Yeah, he beat a guy hit him.
Oh,
so if y'all hadn't heard the story, you need to go back and listen to KBN. I don't know, it was back in like April or May or something. Yeah. Anyway, it was
Jeremy Hughes.
Jeremy Hughes, one of the lakes in Alabama. He's pedaling back to the ramp at the end of a tournament, and all of a sudden his kayak gets hit by a bass boat. They weren't going fast. Like the guy was idling and hit him and said something about get the fuck off the lake or something. I don't know. And so they had some words. They got back to the ramp, and old Jeremy Hughes whooped his ass on the ramp.
Oh, so good. So good. So good.
That's funny as shit. But
amazing.
Most people aren't assholes like that. Anyway.
I know.
Well, look, hey, do you have anything else? Because we've been 2 hours and 8 minutes now, and we got to get into the Bass and Brews questions. So do you have anything else about YouTubing, memeing, or fishing that you want to talk about?
I mean, outside of, we covered a lot, but, obviously I'm on the promotional staff of BizBaits.
We ain't there yet.
All right.
That's after the questions.
Okay.
I'm talking about right now. Like, is there any tidbits of information you can give to people that want to meme, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, any of the social media shit?
Just do it. I think Alex talks about it a lot, is just put it out there. You don't know what you're good at until you just start doing it. And it doesn't have to be great. That's probably the number one thing, is it doesn't have to be great right away. You can sit here and make video after video after video, and then one video hits, and all of a sudden, like, you have your little niche and your little space in the social media landscape. I think, I don't know if it was Alex Rudd that said it or not, but like, you can do the same type of video that 15,000 other people did, but it's you. It's you doing it, so it's different. And that's kind of what I'd say when it comes to creating on social media and that kind of stuff, is just do it. I mean, just get it out there. You're not going to offend anybody.
Well, you might, but
True.
But you might. Some people get offended by stupid stuff. But I will say this, and you made me just think of this. Embrace the shittiness.
Yeah. Definitely.
And so
definitely.
Alex and I embrace the shittiness by calling this podcast shitty, and we don't have listeners, and blah blah blah. All this stuff. We say that because it's not like most of your other podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
It's unprofessional as fuck. We drink, we cuss, we swear. There's some inappropriate shit said, but we say that in jest because it's part of what we feel like ours is. And
you just can't take yourself too seriously.
Oh, we don't edit a damn thing in this podcast. I didn't tell you this when we started, but I figured you knew. Y'all listening, we don't edit nothing. What happens and then what is said on these podcasts is it. There's no editing. Mm-hmm. Like, this shit goes out raw. It is not live. Sometimes they are, but it's as live as it can be. And we enjoy that part about it. And that's how we roll. All right, we're going to get into the meat and taters here at the Bass and Brews podcast. Crocs or flops?
My wife made me a believer in Crocs. I think
you married a damn good ass woman. She has let you come on this podcast tonight, and she got you into Crocs. I mean, you struck gold there.
Yeah,
I'm aware.
I'm aware. I mean, they're perfect. I mean, I typically, you can walk the dog in them. Like, you don't have to bend over to put them on. I mean, it's just they're comfortable. I mean,
they don't slip on your feet when they get wet like flops.
Exactly. Well, I agree. I mean, they got a sport mode. I mean, you just can't.
Until my dog chewed the 4-wheel drives off of mine, and so now I don't have any. But anyway, do you know I've about wore a hole in my Crocs? Can you believe that shit?
Now, that I can believe, because I probably have too. However, I got a question for you. Do you put the little charms on your Crocs?
Nobody has given me any to put on there, but I would.
Oh shit! My wife got like a big pack of little charms. So I've got donuts. I've got ice cream cones. I got fish bones on there.
I want the little balls.
Listen, I got some. I got a big pink nutsack that goes on the. Like, if you were in sport mode, it'd be hanging off the back.
Yeah, the back, yeah.
So.
All right, pineapple and pizza, yes or no?
Fuck it, why not? Let's do it. I don't care.
Okay. Yeah.
Look. I'm not here to be in anybody's way.
Pizza. I'm not going to order pizza with pineapple on it.
I'm not either.
My fat ass will eat it if it's there.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
I will eat it if it's there.
Me too. Me too.
Do you spend more on a rod or a reel?
I'm going to have to go with rod. I've thought about this question a lot. And as I got into skipping a jig more and more and just kind of some of the different techniques and stuff, I can take my spinning rod or my spinning reel and transfer it from between 3 or 4 different rods. But I can't do that with, you don't really have that leeway with a rod. So if I'm going to get specific with a rod, I'm going to spend more money on a rod than I am a reel, for sure.
So there's a episode of Bass Kayak and Beers with Armando on the Paddle and Fin Network that should be coming out next Tuesday. So y'all are listening to this Friday. It should be coming out this next Tuesday. He had me a guest, and he wanted to focus on this. And he chose rods. I chose reels. And we asked this question in jest as a black and white question, but this is the least black and white fucking question
I know.
on this whole podcast. Because I some things I want to reel, and we talked about this in the podcast. So y'all gonna have to listen to it with Armando. It was good, and I'm glad he had me on to talk about it. It was fun. All right, in the 3-hour session, you want to catch 5 2-pounders, 1.7.
1.7, no question about it.
Hell
1.7.
yeah! And look, tournament, it doesn't matter if I'm going to go. If I go fish a tournament, I catch 1 7-pounder, and I finish dead last, motherfucker, I'm happy. You know what? I probably won big bass.
That's what I'm saying.
But
you probably won big bass anyway.
7-pounder, man. Hell yeah, that's worth the whole day of fishing.
Are you kidding
We
me?
need to change that to 8-pounder too. I don't know why Alex's ass chose 7. Probably because he's short and he was scared to choose 8.
Yeah.
Wacky rig or Texas rig?
Wacky. All day.
I know. If you watch your videos,
wacky rig.
How do you throw a wacky rig and let that bitch I'll throw a Nico rig all day long with an actual roofing nail in it. Now I ain't paying all that money for no Nico nail.
Yeah, fuck
that shit. There we go. High five. Hey-o. Punch bug. Dilly. What? God, you fish a wacky rig like on a dock. And, Bo, you throw that shit out there and you talk to the camera for like 30 minutes while it sinks to the bottom. And then you reel up a 14-inch spot all the time.
Yeah, it was the first. It was
Hold
the
on, time out.
first rig.
Have you been drinking at all during this podcast?
Yeah.
I haven't seen you even take a sip.
I have it right in front of your face.
You haven't drank enough.
Sorry, man. But anyway.
All right, finish your question because it might go on 3 hours if you don't.
Oh, shit. Well, no, Wacky Rig was like the first. That was like what helped me turn the corner on bass fishing. Before I really discovered like a Wacky Rig, it'd be 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd be sitting next to a dock, and I'd be throwing a spinner bait, just chucking it down to like out, like I was fishing from the bank. I'd chuck it out towards the middle, and I'd just reel it in and try to get it as close as I could to the fucking dock. But then once I figured out the Wacky Rig and I started catching a couple fish on it, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, you got to go underneath that dock in order to find something that's going to bite. And, it just kind of stuck, and I just kept catching fish on it. So, I mean, And
as a Queen City guy, I should have asked this question as Sassy Stick or Texas Rig.
Right,
because, look, guys, he's already mentioned it. True South and Biz Baits. Look, if y'all don't believe in, if y'all have never heard of, or if you don't believe in True South and Biz Baits, go watch some Queen City shit, because that's what they catching fish on. Yeah, I mean, they're local, but they support the hell out of y'all guys.
Yeah,
too.
Oh man, it's unbelievable. Lights out. I mean, it's awesome to have those guys there, and just what they invest in the club and
dude, their buzz baits do look bad as shit. I need to get a couple.
Yeah, and they spend a lot of time and a lot of effort and everything, and they support everything that Vinny does with the club, and just a lot of the anglers that fish in the club. So, and I have confidence in their baits. I love the jigs. I love the Cutter Craw as a jig trailer. It's my number one jig trailer, and can't say enough good stuff about them.
Do you eat largemouth bass?
No, I don't.
The fuck is wrong with you? Look, y'all.
I don't eat a lot of fish anyway. That I catch.
Don't eat a lot of fish. Just eat the largemouth.
Yeah, but largemouth over here are kind of like coveted because there's not that many.
Here's why Lake Norman has little teeny ass spot, because y'all don't eat enough of them motherfuckers.
Did you see that we did a whole fucking event on
I
culling
know.
out spotted bass?
Yeah, because y'all wasn't it last year or earlier this year? Y'all donated them, right?
It was in
Was that y'all or was it
2020.
somebody else?
It was in
Okay.
2020. We did. And no, we
I
did.
think
We
somebody else did.
donated
Somebody
them
else.
to the Raptor
I think
Center.
a boat tournament did a. Yeah, Raptor Center.
Yeah, we donated them.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I won that tournament. It was a partner tournament. Me and Tim Sabella won
Nice.
that thing. And I lost 5 fish on my stringer. They just fell off. Yeah.
How the fuck
Dude,
did they fall off?
Listen.
No,
I had
you Michigan fuck didn't know how to put a fish on a string.
You're correct. So what happened was I took the night before I took some fucking paracord.
Oh.
Right? And I had like some of these metal clips, like these big metal clips.
Yeah.
And I tied like 5 of them. I tied like 5 of them on in a line, right? And the last one, I had like 3 or like 5 fish on, and the knot came off. And my ass, I was on fish. Like the week before, I had dialed them in. I had an area that I was going to. I was really confident, and I started getting my bite on tournament day, and I was, pedaling around, and I'm fishing and this stuff, and I got my stringer on the side of my kayak. And I'm like, all right, sweet. And I was going to do an update. I literally had my camera in my hand, and I was like, hey guys, I got like 5. Fuck. I lost 5 fish. And they were all like, they had to mostly be dead, and they were all on the same clip. And because they were small, they were like little 12 inchers.
Yeah.
So I spent probably 30 to 45 minutes pedaling around the same cove, looking under docks, trying to find these floating fish.
Them fish swam off.
No, they were nowhere to be found. I was pissed.
The first fish.
We won by 1 fish.
The first fish is your anchor fish.
Yeah.
So you have to when you run that stringer through the gill out the mouth, and then you either have a carabiner or you have some kind of like little key ring, some kind of circle, or you tie a circle. But that first fish is your anchor. You run everything through the gills to mouth, and you run it up. And then every other fish after that, you just run it through the gills in the mouth, and that other fish keeps it there.
Yeah. So I didn't do it that way, obviously.
Yeah, well, obviously. Well, here, PSA announcement. Look, y'all, there's nothing wrong with keeping the legal amount of fish. And if there's a slot, keeping it within the slot. But if you're catching 12, 14-inch fish, if you can keep 5 of them on a bass, keep them motherfuckers. 12 and 14-inch fish, they ain't shit. There's hundreds of thousands of them in that lake. Keep them and eat them. And if you say bass tastes like shit, I will cook catfish, bass, crappie, and carp. And I will fillet them out, and I'll deep fry them. You come over to the house, and you won't be able to tell. You be able to tell the carp, but you ain't going to be able to tell the other fish from shit. No. So motherfuckers talk about bass don't taste good. You're dumb as shit. That's all I got to tell you. Hey,
I'm just lazy.
Well, cleaning fish is a pain in the ever living fucking ass. You got to fillet them out and skin them and do it. Look, I'll tell you what. My son likes to have his fish with the head on it. So when I fry fish for him, I gut it, and I fry the whole fucking fish, eyeballs and all.
There you go.
Slow jams are hype music.
Hype. Heavy fucking metal. Like as heavy as you can possibly fucking get. Seriously. Like people are always shocked when they realize my taste in music. Like the heavier, the better. Like a couple bands that I listen to, like Nile, like it started with Metallica, and that's kind of the soft-ish side of what I listen to now, but like just big time heavy metal, like death metal, growls, the unintelligible lyrics, all that stuff.
So when you get to the ramp in the morning, you're ready to fuck some shit up.
Oh, I'm listening to Bass and Brews, so yeah, I'm ready to fuck shit up.
Oh yeah, well, you're probably cussing and throwing shit out the window on the way there too about how stupid the shit we're saying are, but now you're part of it, so good luck.
Yeah, so, but yeah, for sure, 100% hype music.
Have you ever eaten beaver?
No, I have not.
You have been down in the South way too long not to have eaten beaver.
I grew up in Michigan, dude. Like
There's tons of beaver up there too.
Yeah. No, I don't. No.
Well, we're gonna have to rectify that at some point. It is delicious.
Well, hey,
Delicious.
I'll try it.
Alex Rudd, underrated or overrated? He don't listen to this podcast.
No, I know.
So you can be truthful.
I guess underrated. Sure, why not? Let's inflate his ego.
That?
I don't know. I don't. Honestly, the only reason I know him is from this podcast. So.
Oh my God! Wait till show Alex hears this shit. That the only reason that a man in this world knows Alex Rudd is because of Bass and Bruce.
Honestly,
look. Alex won't get this text for like 3 months, but I'm going to send it to him right now. This is, you know what? This is the shining moment of Bass and Bruce. That there is a living human being that apparently breathes oxygen that only knows Alex Rudd before this podcast. I mean, I love it. You know what? My night has made. You don't even have to. You can say the stupidest answer for this next question. I'm going to give you the most shit in the world, but I don't mean it because oh my God, this is awesome. You should have said overrated.
Well,
that should have been your answer at this point.
I mean, it's hard
by now.
Well, it's hard to say anything bad about somebody you don't know. So.
No, it's not. I mean, that's when you do say that's when you do talk shit.
But I don't know what to talk shit about. Like I like to cut.
Just
so
say
I
they
don't
fucking
wanna...
suck until you know otherwise. They don't. Don't give them the benefit of doubt.
All right.
If you don't know them, they fucking suck until you get to know them. They're like, I was wrong about that. This guy's awesome. Jeez, we got to redo this. You know what? I'm going to cut this shit out. We're going to redo that. I'm just kidding. All right, this is the last question. This is the question that we're kind of known for. Mm-hmm. This is the question where we hadn't got no shitty answers in a long time. Mm-hmm. It has been a while. And we still pick on poor little Bailey from Serious Angler's ass about his question because it's the worst one we've gotten. The most recent, and that shit's been almost a year ago now, if not more. Top 3 sandwich proteins.
I thought long and hard about this one too. This is
how we know it's not going to be a bad answer because you prepared.
I wanted to get it right, but also I was like, man, I could really fuck it up too, and it wouldn't be that bad. But I'm gonna go with bacon, fried chicken, and barbecue.
There we go. See, those are perfect.
However,
that's good southern. That's good southern answer. Don't fuck it up by however.
What I will say is I was gonna say ranch dressing because that shit is a food group in the Midwest. It's a food group in the Midwest.
No, Hambone.
Listen, trust me.
No, Hambone. All right. Right now, go make a sandwich, 1 piece of bread with an inch layer thick of dressing.
Don't
and
fucking
another
tempt
piece
me,
of bread
bro.
and eat it.
Don't tempt me.
I used to eat mayonnaise sandwiches, but mayonnaise is a protein because mayonnaise ain't nothing but eggs.
Ranch dressing is basically all mayonnaise anyway.
You're right, but I have seen butter sandwiches and I have seen mayonnaise sandwiches.
Listen,
I ain't never seen no. Oh my God!
I basically bleed ranch dressing. Okay.
What restaurant has the best ranch dressing?
Fuck.
See, all right. A little backstory. My wife growing up, all she ate was chicken tenders and cheese fries. And I can't remember. I'm going to fuck this up, but either Texas Roadhouse or Lone Star, one of those places had the best ranch dressing, and second best ranch dressing was Outback. I'm messing up the first one. It's one of those two. But anyway, in your opinion, who has the best ranch dressing?
So I'm going to have to go with, there's a local spot here called Lake Wiley Pizza, and they have a fantastic house-made ranch dressing.
Is it thick or thin?
It's thin.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of thin ranch.
See, I like
thick and globby.
See, I like a little. There's a fine line. I mean, there's an art to making a good ranch dressing, and you got to hit that sweet spot between what you're talking about, and then it can be too watery. But you gotta hit that balance, and when you hit that balance, which I think Lake
It's
Wiley
got to be
Pizza does.
sticky, right? It's got to be.
Yeah,
It's got to be,
yeah,
especially when it comes
it's
to lettuce. It's got to stick.
yeah. I mean,
I like a
and
little bit extra. I like that little bit extra pepper in mine too,
and
like a
I'm
cracked
and I'm
pepper.
throwing that shit all over pizza too. Ranch
So I
dressing on
yeah, I
pizza,
used to
oh,
spread it
the
on there,
best.
but now I if the pizza ain't good and it's good ranch dressing, I'll dip it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, back in the college days, man, we had Gumby's at Chapel Hill, and we get Gumby's, and Gumby's had good ranch dressing, and that shit would be in the pizza box when you got it, so it'd be all hot and stuff. Oh,
Hmm. Hmm.
but you
Hmm.
only ate Gumby's. You only ate Gumby's post 1 a.m. and after you had drank, a fifth of liquor or vodka
Oh
or
yeah.
something.
Oh yeah. I am very aware of those days. Like you
Oh
wake
yeah,
up and you
yeah.
just, oh my God.
All right,
We would,
Hambone. Now is when you can shout out the people that sponsor you, support you, that you love, and that allow you to go fishing.
yeah. So, well, obviously, first and foremost would be my wife because she does not complain at all when I say I'm going fishing on Saturday,
Does
basically
she
every
go with
week.
you?
No, she would. She gets really motion sick, so it's really tough for her to kind of sit on a kayak or a boat in one spot. Like if we're cruising around or whatever, she's on there all day. But to like sit in one spot and fish and like try to get a pattern going or like sit there with for an hour and a half, 2 hours with no fish.
Y'all be leaving at 2 hours. Time to go home.
We went down and fished in Charleston on a saltwater guided trip, and she had a great time because at first we were, the guide and I were kind of fucking around, and we were in kayaks, but it was
Oh,
windy. It was windy, but
yeah.
we were just kind of messing around and throwing some artificials, waiting on the tide to swing.
Uh-huh.
And so the tide finally got low, and we made it to our spot and kind of anchored down and started throwing live bait out. And she was the first one to get a bite, thank God, because like,
So the rest of
because
the day, she
oh
thinks
yeah,
she's gonna hit shit. Yeah,
well,
there we
we
go.
did actually. We caught a
Yeah.
lot of fish, but like we were fishing for redfish, and she
Ah,
was like,
nice.
so we were fishing just with like chunks of mullet or whatever, and when she threw one out, and she's like, so what do I do? Do I just kind of like, how will I know I get a bite? And he's like, you'll fucking know. And she's like, the first fish hit and just like hammer down, and she's like, what do I do? What do I do? And she's like holding the rod like, ah. But no, we had a
Y'all
great
catch the
time.
bull reds?
We so the biggest one we caught that day was like 29 inches.
Oh shit.
So yeah, I mean it was pretty good, but most of them were probably slot reds,
Yeah.
and but we had a great time, and definitely going to be heading back down there. I already
Nice.
talked her into it. So, but obviously first and foremost, my wife Heather, she lets me fish constantly, doesn't give me shit about it. She likes to have her time too. She works out like a crazy lady. So um, she has her fun doing that. I go fishing, and then we relax after that. And then you know, uh, Biz Baits, obviously I'm on their promotional staff. They've always supported,
You know
local
what?
anglers.
Thank you. He did not say pro staff. He said promotional staff.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
have learned it. At least one
Oh,
person on this
listen,
podcast to say what's right.
I
Promotional
fell
staff.
I fell victim to it's like the Ardent
We
Reel
tungsten.
pro staff. No, the other one, Ardent,
Mm.
is one of the other ones. Obviously, there's Wu Tungsten that just are just brutal, and like all that shit is so bad for local shop owners because it's just a way to sell directly to the end user. And
Go get your discount as a promotional staff person. I do not have any qualms with that. Get your fucking discount. Here's the other thing: everybody that uses that code, that is a way. If you use that code properly, that's a way for you to potentially become
true,
real pro staff
yeah,
to
absolutely.
get product. Like they give you that code so they can track what you're doing in the business you're bringing them. There's not a problem with being promotional staff.
No.
Use it, get your discount, give it to people, get them to buy it. It might be something in the future for you, but there's a difference in pro staff and promotional staff. I'm off that horse. We're going to put that bitch back into the stalls.
No, but they've obviously
making
always, supported us, supported Queen City. And then I just, I got to thank the club, and what Vinny's put together.
Bates promotional staff too, by the way, either way. But
You
go
what?
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, but obviously everybody in Queen City, we support each other. All those guys support the videos that we all put out. Me, Ryan,
Sure.
Josh, like everybody that puts out anything.
Northeast Georgia kayak fishing puts out some good content.
Yeah. And and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of stuff, but it's a great club. It's great for learning. And Vinny keeps the wheels on that thing and keeps it moving forward. So, I got to thank them for giving us the opportunity, for everybody in the club, given the opportunity to fish competitively for a lot of money. I mean, ask Chris Goodwin. He bought a boat for, all the wins he had and all that stuff. But
average pot at Queen City first place is what, $1,700 right now?
Guaranteed $1,500 right now, and I think there's a guarantee for second place too. No, I don't know. I'd have to look at it again. I should know that, but I don't.
All you bass anglers that might be listening to this that want to talk shit, go get your kayak, go fish Queen City, and if you think you're good enough, you're guaranteed $1,500 at first place. Guaranteed.
And a lot of times it's
usually
over
around
that.
19 when you have 120 people. 19
because
2000.
He definitely gives as much as he can back outside of like fees and all that kind of stuff, and just the pot for the TOC and everything. I think the TOC this year is going to be like, gosh, I mean, I think the winner might walk away with close to $5,000. So,
where's your TOC this year?
TOC is at Clark's Hill.
Oh, nice.
So we're headed down there for the TOC, and
are you going to make it?
Well, I think points wise, I'm sitting in the top 10 right now, but no drops yet. So there's a lot of people. There's a lot of things that are going to shake up, because we got 10 events. You take your best 7.
But it'd be hard to fall out of the top 10. I mean, would they top 25?
Top 20, and then 21 through 25 go to a fish off, and so you have it's kind of like the wild card, right? So and then there's also another way into the TOC is if you win, you're in. So if you win an event and you fish 7 and you for some reason don't qualify in points, you're still into the TOC.
Does it drop down then? So if you have first in points, won 2 events, does that mean 2 other people are going to get in?
No roll downs. Vinny hates roll downs. And I have to agree.
There's going to be 20 people.
There's at least 21 people. 21. So because you have the top 20 that qualify, and then you have the wild card
winner. Okay.
Because you'd have to in honestly, even it's all about earning it with Vinny. Like, even if there's only one person fishing in the wild card, you still have to go out and catch a limit in order to make it into the TOC. So, like, you could get screwed on like a real bad day. And whereas like if you had another person fishing that event and they didn't catch anything,
you better get some Ned rigs out there and go get something.
Yeah. So, it's definitely super competitive, but man, we support the hell out of each other. So, we talk a lot of shit, but when it comes down to it, there's so many people willing to help you learn and become a better angler. So, if
all
right,
real quick, and then we'll end it. Hambone fishing on YouTube. Are you active should people go follow you on any other social media, or do you want to steer them straight to Hambone Fishing on YouTube?
Hambone Fishing on YouTube is probably the main one. I definitely do post, here and there on Instagram, and I'm more of a lurker kind of on TikTok, but the TikToks. But I need to get more into that. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with that, and it's fun, and it's the reach on TikTok it's unmatched right now. You just cannot get a better reach on a social media platform than TikTok right now.
Yep. So, thank y'all for tuning in to Bass and Brews podcast with Hambone Fishing.
Absolutely.
It has been a good time. Thank you for coming on as a little bit of short notice, and he hopped on like a champ. We're probably going to see him on in the future as a guest co-host while Alex is out patrolling the coast of America and keeping us safe.
Absolutely.
Y'all, we sure do appreciate it. Hambone, thanks for coming on. Y'all go check out Hambone Fishing on the YouTube. Check out Hookset Hoodlums. They got some new shit that's dropping. I don't know when, next few weeks. But use code HEELS10 if you buy anything from there. It'll get you a 10% discount. I think it might get you a damn 20% increase now. I don't know. But go check that shit out. They do have some really good apparel. And it's seasonally based, and they put out new stuff all the time. It's really good stuff. Thank y'all, Bass and Brews podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Hambone, what do we say? Hey-o!
Hey-o!